David Glenn Lewis, an attorney from Amarillo, Texas, vanished under mysterious circumstances on January 31st, 1993, the day of Super Bowl 27. Lewis's wife and daughter returned home from a shopping trip to find their house in an unusual state. The VCR was recording the big game, 2 turkey sandwiches were in the refrigerator, and Lewis's watch and wedding ring were left on the kitchen counter. Despite these clues, Lewis was nowhere to be found. The following day, a taxi driver in Dallas recalled taking a nervous man, matching Lewis's description, from a hotel to the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. This man paid in cash from a wad of $100 bills. Concurrently, back in Amarillo, Lewis's absence was noted when he missed 2 work appointments, prompting his wife to report him missing. At around 10:30 p.m. on February 1st, 1993, motorists in Moxie, Washington, reported seeing a disoriented man walking along State Route 24. When they turned back to warn other drivers, they found the man dead, the apparent victim of a hit and run. The deceased, lacking identification, was labeled as John Doe and buried near Yakima, Washington. Initial investigations into Lewis's disappearance and the unidentified hit-and-run victim proceeded separately. In Amarillo, police discovered Lewis's red Ford Explorer parked near the courthouse with his keys under the floor mat and his checkbook, driver's license, and credit cards inside. His wife reported that only a pair of green sweatpants was missing from his wardrobe. Financial records indicated unusual activity, including a $5,000 withdrawal from his bank account on January 30th. This was followed by plane tickets purchased in his name from Amarillo to Dallas and Los Angeles to Dallas. Despite these clues, the investigation stalled out. Lewis had received death threats during his time as a judge and was involved in a number of contentious legal cases in his time, leading his family to suspect foul play. However, the police speculated he might have left voluntarily due to professional and personal pressures. The case remained cold until 2003, when Detective Pat Ditter revisited it, spurred by a series on missing persons. Utilizing internet searches, Ditter linked the unidentified hit-and-run victim in Washington to Lewis. The discovery of Lewis's distinctive glasses among the deceased's possessions confirmed the connection. DNA testing provided definitive proof that the John Doe was indeed David Glenn Lewis, ending an 11-year mystery about his identity, but leaving many questions open. The circumstances leading to Lewis's presence in Washington, the nature of his journey, and the identity of the driver responsible for his death remain unresolved. Lewis's family believes he was likely kidnapped and transported across the country, while police have not entirely ruled out voluntary disappearance. Notably, David Glenn Lewis had no known connections to the Yakima area, nor to Washington state in general. This was a suggestion by Discord community member and patron Monoxide Wendigo. If you're interested in sharing your suggestion for this series, join the Discord by clicking the link in the description or leave a comment. The Simpsons predictions. The Simpsons, the longest-running American animated show, has gained a reputation for its alleged eerie ability to predict the future. With its debut in 1989, the show has produced over 700 episodes filled with satirical humor and often touching on real-world issues. The Simpsons first caught the public's attention with its predictions in the early 1990s. One of the earliest examples was in the 1992 episode Lisa the Greek, where Lisa predicts the outcome of the Super Bowl, which came true just days after the episode aired. This pattern of predicting Super Bowl results continued successfully for several years, cementing the show's reputation for prognostication. In the episode Bart to the Future, which aired in 2000, a future Lisa Simpson becomes President of the United States and mentions inheriting a budget crisis from President Trump. This prediction seemed far-fetched at the time, but became reality when Donald Trump was elected president in 2016. In yet another episode, the characters parodying Siegfried and Roy are attacked by their trained white tiger. A decade later, Roy Horn was attacked by one of their tigers during a live show, leading to the end of their performances. An episode from 1998 featured a sign that read, 20th Century Fox, a division of the Walt Disney Company. Nearly 2 decades later, Disney acquired 21st Century Fox in 2017, making this another striking prediction. The episode Lisa's Wedding predicted technology like video calling and smartwatches. Lisa speaks to Marge using a video phone, a precursor to FaceTime, which Apple introduced in 2010. Additionally, the show depicted a watch that could make phone calls, similar to the Apple Watch launched in 2015. The Simpsons movie featured a scene where the NSA spies on citizens' conversations. This became eerily relevant when Edward Snowden exposed the extent of NSA surveillance in 2013. Theories about how the writers managed these predictions range from the plausible to the fantastical. Some believe it's simply a matter of probability and the law of large numbers. With so many episodes covering a wide range of topics, some are bound to coincide with future events. Some fans believe that the writers have inside information or are time travelers. Others speculate that the writers have a deep understanding of socio-political trends and extrapolate potential outcomes based on current events. However, believers argue that the predictions seem too specific and too numerous to be mere coincidences, and note that other similar shows do not display this pattern. The disappearance of Susie Lamplugh. On July 28, 1986, 25-year-old real estate agent Susie Lamplugh left her office to meet a client known as Mr. Kipper for a house viewing in Fulham, London. Susie's last known movements were well documented. She left her office at Sturgis & Sons at around 12:40 p.m., taking her car keys, house keys, and purse, but leaving her handbag behind. She was seen waiting outside a property around 12:50 p.m. By 1 p.m., she was joined by a man presumed to be Mr. Kipper, and they were seen walking away from the house. When she failed to return to work, her manager reported her missing by 6:45 p.m. Her white Ford Fiesta was found that night, hastily parked in Stevenage Road, about a mile from her office. The driver's door was unlocked, the handbrake was off, and her purse was inside, but her keys were missing. Despite extensive searches using police dogs, helicopters, and public appeals, no trace of Susie was found. The investigation faced several challenges from the start. Initial inquiries focused on her boyfriend and roommate, but both had solid alibis. Police also explored the possibility that Mr. Kipper was an alias, and one theory suggested that it could be an anagram of kidnapper if combined with another name. One of the most prominent suspects was John Cannon, a convicted criminal who was known to use the nickname Kipper in prison. Cannon had been released from prison shortly before Susie's disappearance and was living in a hostel in London. A cab driver identified him as the man seen with a bottle of champagne on the day Susie vanished. Despite this, there wasn't enough evidence to charge him. Witnesses also reported seeing a dark-colored BMW speeding away from the area where Susie's car was found. One jogger recalled seeing a blonde woman matching Susie's description struggling with a man in the car, but this lead did not yield concrete results. The disappearance had a profound impact on Susie's family and the public. Her parents, Paul and Diana, established the Susie Lamplugh Trust in December 1986, dedicated to promoting personal safety and supporting victims of stalking and violence. This led to significant changes in safety practices and awareness campaigns across the UK. In the following years, various searches and inquiries have been conducted, but none have brought definitive answers. Despite the continued efforts and advancements in forensic science, the case remains unsolved. The Wrangel Island woolly mammoths. Wrangel Island, located in the Arctic Ocean off the coast of Siberia, became the last refuge for the woolly mammoths, where they survived long after their mainland counterparts had disappeared. Woolly mammoths roamed much of the northern hemisphere during the last ice age, but rising temperatures and human activities began to shrink their habitats around 15,000 years ago. By approximately 10,000 years ago, most mammoth populations had vanished from the mainland. However, a small population found sanctuary on Wrangel Island, which had become isolated from the mainland due to rising sea levels around 12,000 years ago. The Wrangel Island mammoths managed to survive until approximately 4,000 years ago. This remarkable longevity has been attributed to several factors. The isolation provided a refuge from human hunting, which was a significant threat to mammoths elsewhere. Additionally, the stable climate and abundant resources on Wrangel Island supported their continued existence. Genetic studies have provided deep insights into the lives of these mammoths. Researchers analyzed the genomes of mammoths from Wrangel Island and compared them to those of their mainland relatives. These studies revealed that the island's mammoth population experienced a decline in genetic diversity due to inbreeding, but this did not immediately lead to their extinction. The population remained relatively stable despite accumulating mildly harmful mutations brought on by inbreeding over time. Interestingly, the mammoths on Wrangel Island showed no significant signs of dietary stress or habitat changes leading up to their extinction. Previous theories suggested that a combination of climate change and human hunting led to their demise, but recent research points to a different culprit: icing events. These events, where rain falls on snow and then freezes, create a thick layer of ice that prevents herbivores from accessing their food sources. Such conditions likely caused a sudden and catastrophic decline in the mammoth population around 4,000 years ago. The precise reasons for the sudden extinction of the Wrangel Island mammoths remain somewhat of a mystery. While the population was genetically viable and their environment relatively stable, the icing events may have been devastating. Additionally, a potential lack of freshwater resources on the island might have exacerbated the situation, leading to their rapid disappearance. Notably, there are some claims that early Russian explorers of the island reported sighting large, shaggy beasts on the island as late as the 19th century. Proponents of this theory argue that this is evidence of much later survival of these creatures. However, skeptics have claimed that these sources were likely referring to other animals, such as musk oxen. This was a suggestion from Discord community member Lauren Redmond. Thomas Thursday. Thomas Thursday is a mysterious figure in literary history, known primarily for his extensive career as a pulp writer. Born in 1894, Thursday's real name is unknown. He began his writing career with A Stroke of Genius, published in Top Notch magazine on April 1st, 1918, and continued to write for various pulp magazines until the late 1950s. His pseudonym, Thursday, was chosen after he saw a calendar while submitting his first story. Thomas Thursday's writing style was unique, primarily focusing on humor, which was uncommon in pulp fiction. His works often featured clever wordplay and themes revolving around circuses, sideshows, and swindles, reflecting his youthful experiences working for numerous circuses. Some of his notable story titles include Illiterature, Young Mild West, and Of Lice and Men. Despite his early success, Thursday's career faced significant challenges during the Great Depression. The economic downturn and the evolving landscape of pulp magazines led to a decline in the market for general humor. Adapting to the changing times, Thursday began writing humorous sports stories, detective fiction, and true crime articles, particularly focusing on cases from Miami, Florida, where he had relocated in the late 1920s. Thursday's true crime articles were particularly notable, providing a gritty, first-hand look at the criminal underworld of Miami. He wrote for various true crime magazines and even served as a columnist for the Miami Police News until its closure in 1967. His how-to articles for writers, often published in Writer's Digest and The Author and Journalist, displayed his growing frustration with the writing industry. He was especially dissatisfied regarding the declining word pay rates and the perceived incompetence of pulp magazine editors. In the broader context of literary history, writers like Thursday played a crucial role in shaping the genre, bringing humor, mystery, and adventure to millions of readers. That said, even though his works were read by millions of people over 5 decades, he is a complete unknown. His personal life remains largely undocumented, and much of what is known comes from his published works and the few articles he penned about his own experiences. This lack of concrete biographical information has led to speculation among literary historians and fans. Some believe he may have led a double life, with a completely different identity known only to a close circle of friends and family. Others suggest that his reclusive nature was a deliberate choice to maintain creative freedom without public scrutiny. Still others suggest that Thomas Thursday was a composite character used by a group to publish their less than stellar works. The missing Fabergé eggs. The Fabergé eggs, renowned for their exquisite craftsmanship and historical significance, were commissioned by the Russian imperial family. These eggs symbolize opulence and the intricate artistry of Peter Carl Fabergé. Of the approximately 50 eggs created for the Romanovs, 7 remain missing. The tradition of the Fabergé eggs began in 1885, when Tsar Alexander III sought a special Easter gift for his wife, Maria Feodorovna. Fabergé's first creation, known as the hen egg, delighted the Empress and initiated an annual custom of presenting these jeweled masterpieces. Each egg contained a unique surprise, enhancing their allure and personal significance. One of the most famous missing eggs is the hen with sapphire pendant from 1886. This egg, the second in the series, was documented in the Kremlin's inventory in 1922, but subsequently vanished. Its description is vague, with no surviving photographs. Another elusive piece is the cherub with chariot from 1888. Known only from a blurry photograph and sparse descriptions, this egg was also last recorded in the Kremlin before disappearing. The Necessaire egg of 1889, adorned with rubies, emeralds, and sapphires, was sold by the Bolsheviks in the 1920s. It surfaced in London in 1949 before being sold again in 1952 to an anonymous buyer, so its current location is unknown. Similarly, the mauve egg from 1897 has a known surprise, a heart-shaped stand with photos of the royal family, but the egg itself is lost. The Royal Danish egg of 1903 and the Alexander III commemorative egg of 1909 are also missing. The former celebrated the Dowager Empress's Danish heritage, while the latter unsurprisingly commemorated Tsar Alexander. Both eggs have scant documentation, with their last known locations being untraceable. These eggs' disappearance is often attributed to the chaos following the Russian Revolution. When the Bolsheviks seized power in 1917, they confiscated many imperial treasures, including the Fabergé eggs. During the 1920s and 1930s, the Soviet government sold these items to raise funds, dispersing them worldwide. Some eggs ended up in museums or private collections, while others vanished into obscurity. In recent years, there have been sporadic rediscoveries. For instance, in 2013, a scrap metal dealer in the Midwest bought what turned out to be the third imperial egg, which had been missing since 1922. This fortunate find, valued at $33 million, underscores the possibility that other missing eggs may still exist, perhaps hidden in private collections or misidentified as ordinary objects. So, yeah, remember to check your collection for any weird eggs. You may be rich beyond your wildest imagination. Also, if you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and click the share button to share it with your friends. The Black Monk of Pontefract. The haunting of 30 East Drive in Pontefract, England, is among the most infamous poltergeist cases in the UK. The story began in August 1966, when Joe and Jean Pritchard, along with their children Philip and Diane, moved into the seemingly idyllic house. Shortly after moving in, the Pritchards reported cold gusts of wind despite the warm weather, mysterious white powder falling from nowhere, and pools of water appearing inexplicably. These occurrences marked the beginning of their ordeal with what would later be known as the Black Monk. Over time, the disturbances grew more violent, with objects being thrown, loud bangs resonating through the house, and physical attacks on family members. The entity's name, the Black Monk, derives from its appearance, a shadowy figure in a black habit, resembling a monk. According to some sources, investigations into the house's history revealed that the site was near the location of a 16th century gallows where a monk was executed. This historical connection led many to believe that the Black Monk's restless spirit was tied to these tragic events. Throughout the years, the Pritchards continued to experience relentless paranormal activity. Diane Pritchard, in particular, seemed to be a focal point of the hauntings, experiencing hair pulling and being thrown from her bed. The family sought help from various sources, including the Catholic Church, which performed several exorcisms. Unfortunately, these attempts only seemed to aggravate the spirit, resulting in more aggressive manifestations, such as upside-down crosses appearing on walls. Paranormal investigators delved into the house's dark history, reinforcing the theory that the Black Monk was a tormented spirit from the nearby historical sites. Despite extensive investigations, including sessions with paranormal teams and ghost hunters, no definitive explanation for the phenomena at 30 East Drive has been found. The haunting of 30 East Drive has inspired numerous books, documentaries, and even films. The 2012 movie, When the Lights Went Out, dramatizes the Pritchard family's experiences, bringing the story to a wider audience. Today, the house remains a popular destination for ghost hunters and paranormal enthusiasts. The current owner has continued to open the house to visitors, despite or because of the continued reports of supernatural occurrences. On April 5, 1800, William Dunbar, a Scottish-American plantation owner, reported witnessing a UFO over Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I note that I clarify that he was an American here, as Louisiana was still a French territory at this time, and would be for 3 more years. This incident was later communicated to Thomas Jefferson, then Vice President of the United States and President of the American Philosophical Society. It remains one of the earliest documented UFO sightings in American history. Dunbar's account describes a luminous object the size of a large house, approximately 70 to 80 feet long, moving rapidly across the night sky. It hovered about 200 yards above the ground, emitting a crimson-red light, similar to the color of the sun at sunset. Despite its brightness, the object did not emit sparks and caused no electric sensation. As the object moved, it created a light effect on the ground akin to sunlight, making stars visible despite its brightness. The sighting culminated in a loud rushing noise and a violent crash, similar to a cannon blast, which was strong enough to cause a minor earthquake. Investigations at the supposed crash site revealed scorched earth and damaged vegetation, indicating significant heat and impact. The mysterious nature of the object and its physical effects led to various theories. Some believe it might have been a natural astronomical event, such as a meteor or comet fragment. Others speculate it could have been an early instance of extraterrestrial visitation, given the detailed description and significant physical evidence left behind. The disappearance of Sean Ritchie. Sean Ritchie, a 20-year-old man from Fraserburgh, vanished after attending a party at a remote farmhouse near Strichen in Aberdeenshire in Scotland. Sean was last seen on October 31, 2014, when he left his home in Fraserburgh to attend a Halloween party with friends at Kersey Hill farmhouse in Strichen. CCTV footage captured him visiting a convenience store earlier that day. The group traveled to the party in a van, and what transpired afterward remains a mystery. According to reports, Sean was last seen running from the farmhouse into a nearby wooded area following a disturbance at the party. The search for Sean Ritchie was one of the largest coordinated missing person investigations in Scottish history. More than 200 officers, along with air support, mountain rescue teams, and forensic experts, combed through miles of rough terrain, ditches, and water bodies. Despite these efforts, only a few items of Sean's clothing, his shoes, a hooded top, and a belt, were found in a boggy area near Greenburn. One prevalent theory suggests he might have become disoriented due to the freezing conditions and possibly stumbled into a bog or other hazardous area. Another theory posits that he might have been involved in a conflict at the party, leading to foul play. Sean's father has expressed his belief that his son was harmed over a debt, though there is no concrete evidence to support this claim. Sean's family has been vocal in their criticism of the investigation and the handling of the case by the Scottish police. They have called for a fresh investigation, hoping that new officers might bring different insights or uncover overlooked evidence. Despite these appeals, the case remains classified as a missing person inquiry, with no evidence suggesting a crime was committed. Anyone with information about Sean's disappearance is urged to contact the Police Service of Scotland. Agartha is a legendary kingdom said to be located on the inner surface of the Earth. The concept of Agartha is closely tied to the hollow Earth theory, which proposes that the Earth is hollow and contains subterranean environments. This idea can be traced back to the 17th century, when Edmund Halley, known for Halley's Comet, suggested that the Earth consisted of concentric shells with separate atmospheres. The legend gained further prominence through the works of 19th century French occultist Alexandre Saint-Yves d'Alvedre, who described Agartha in an 1886 book. He claimed that Agartha was an underground kingdom of advanced knowledge and wisdom, hidden from the surface world to safeguard its secrets. The story was later revived by Polish explorer Ferdynand Ossendowski, who in a 1922 book recounted tales of a subterranean kingdom imparted to him by Mongolian lamas. The mysteries of Agartha are deeply intertwined with various cultural myths and religious stories. In Hindu and Buddhist traditions, similar concepts exist, such as Patala, a netherworld inhabited by serpent-like beings called Nagas. Another concept also exists, called Shambhala, a mythical kingdom often confused with Agartha in Western sources. One of the stories related to Agartha involves Admiral Richard E. Byrd of the U.S. Navy. In his purported secret diary, Byrd allegedly describes an encounter with an advanced civilization during a flight over the North Pole in 1947. He claims to have seen a lush green landscape and was greeted by beings from Agartha who expressed concern over humanity's use of nuclear weapons. Although this diary's authenticity is widely disputed, it has fueled many conspiracy theories about the existence of Agartha. According to these theories, Agartha is accessible through entrances at the North and South Poles, as well as other locations around the world. Maps created by these groups often depict a vast network of tunnels connecting various parts of the Earth's interior, with Agartha as the central hub. The phenomenon of the sailing stones in Death Valley's racetrack playa has puzzled scientists for over a century. These rocks, some weighing hundreds of pounds, move across the dry lake bed, leaving long tracks behind them despite no apparent force causing their movement. The first documented account of the sailing stones dates back to 1915 when a prospector noticed tracks left by the moving rocks. Racetrack Playa, where this phenomenon occurs, is a dry lake bed situated in Death Valley National Park, known for its extreme temperatures and unique geological features. The playa is approximately 2.8 miles long and 1.3 miles wide, with a surface that alternates between parched and slightly muddy conditions depending on the season. For decades, scientists and enthusiasts have been proposing various natural and supernatural explanations. Early hypotheses included wind, magnetic fields, and even alien intervention. However, the first significant breakthrough came in the 1970s, when researchers suggested that a combination of wind and ice could be responsible for the movement. In recent years, technological advancements have allowed for more precise investigations. In 2011, a team led by Richard Norris from the Scripps Institution of Oceanography placed GPS trackers on rocks and used time-lapse cameras to monitor their movement. They observed that under specific conditions, a thin layer of ice forms around the rocks at night when temperatures drop below freezing. When the ice begins to melt and break up under the sun the next day, it forms large floating panels that, driven by light winds, push the rocks across the slick mud surface. This combination of thin ice sheets and mild winds was conclusively observed in action in 2014, providing the most compelling explanation to date for the phenomenon. Despite these advancements, some aspects of the sailing stones remain mysterious. For example, while the ice and wind theory explains the movement of smaller rocks, it is less clear how it accounts for the paths of larger boulders. Additionally, the variability in the paths, some straight, others curving, suggests that other factors might also play roles. The sailing stones have increasingly captured the public imagination. Some visitors to Death Valley have even taken rocks as souvenirs, believing in their mystical powers, although this is very strongly discouraged to preserve the natural site. The Vanishing Island of Tuanaki. The island of Tuanaki is an island or group of islands that were once part of the Cook Islands, situated south of Rarotonga and within 2 days' sail of Mangaia. Tuanaki reportedly disappeared in the mid-19th century. The first documented mention of Tuanaki dates back to the early 19th century. Reverend Robert Bourne, a missionary, wrote about the island in 1825, noting its location and the abundance of food available there. By 1842, a sailor had visited Tuanaki and spent 6 days among the natives. However, by 1844, when a schooner of English missionaries attempted to find the island, it had vanished without a trace. The disappearance of Tuanaki has been attributed to several factors, including possible volcanic activity or submersion due to an underwater earthquake. Despite various searches, including one led by explorer Sir Ernest Shackleton in the early 20th century, the island has never been rediscovered. Tuanaki holds a significant place in the traditions and oral histories of the local Polynesian peoples. It is mentioned in the context of migration voyages and as a resting place for canoes traveling to New Zealand. In the 20th century, Renewed interest in the lost island led to several expeditions, none of which turned up the island or islands. One theory suggests that the Hamet rocks, located south of Mangaya, could be remnants of Tuanaki. However, the existence of these rocks is also unconfirmed, adding another layer of mystery to the island's story. The Hamet rocks. Okay, so I can't resist a good Phantom Island story, so I had to dig a bit deeper here. The Hamet rocks were first reported in 1863 by J.E. Hamet, captain of the ship the Will Watch. According to Hamet, the ship struck the northern of two rocks while passing between them, damaging it. Hamet provided the exact coordinates for these rocks, placing them about 135 miles west of Orne Bank. Despite these coordinates, the existence of Hamet rocks has remained unverified, and satellite records indicate there is nothing at the coordinates. In the years following Hamet's report, multiple expeditions attempted to locate the rocks without success. Notably, HMS Satellite searched the area in 1886, and the French vessel Faber conducted a thorough investigation in 1887. Both searches yielded no trace of the rocks, leading to skepticism about their existence. The mystery deepened with reports in 1882 suggesting the rocks were located about 150 miles south-southwest of Rarotonga. This placed them directly in the shipping route from Auckland to Rarotonga, causing vessels to navigate cautiously around the supposed location. Despite these navigational adjustments, no concrete evidence of the rocks was found. As discussed previously, given the supposed location of the Hamet rocks, it has been commonly speculated that they are the remains of the island of Tuanaki. I note that it appears that no significant attempts have been made to locate the Hamet rocks since the 1880s, reflecting the isolation of this area. On February 19, 1971, the remains of a young woman were discovered in Lake Panasoffkee, Florida, by two hitchhikers. This unidentified woman, now known as Little Miss Lake Panasoffkee, was found under a bridge along Interstate 75 in an advanced state of decomposition. She was estimated to be between 17 and 24 years old, with brown hair. She wore a green shirt, green plaid pants, and a green poncho, accompanied by a gold ring and a watch. These details suggested she had been in the water for several weeks. Forensic advancements over the years have provided significant clues about her origins and life before her untimely end. Isotopic analysis of her teeth indicated that she had grown up in southern Europe, specifically in the region near the Greek town of Lavrion. This conclusion was drawn based on the unique lead isotopes found in her dental enamel, common in European gasoline during the 1950s. One prominent theory suggested by forensic experts is that she might have traveled to Florida to attend a Greek Orthodox Epiphany celebration. This event draws many from the Greek community to places like Tarpon Springs, which is relatively close to Lake Panasoffkee. Supporting this theory, a Greek crime show aired her case and led to a potential identification. A viewer recognized the facial reconstructions and believed she was a girl named Constantina, who had trained as domestic help in Greece and was sent to the U.S. for work. Despite numerous efforts by law enforcement and continued public interest, Little Miss Lake Panasoffkee's true identity remains unknown. The Boggy Creek Monster. The Boggy Creek Monster, also known as the Fouke Monster, is a creature that has captivated the small town of Fouke, Arkansas, and cryptid enthusiasts for generations. This creature, often compared to Bigfoot, is described as an ape-like being, covered in hair, standing around 7 feet tall, and possessing a foul odor. Sightings of the Boggy Creek Monster date back to at least the 1940s, with some reports suggesting encounters as early as the 1850s. The legend of the Boggy Creek Monster gained national attention in 1971, following an incident involving the Ford family. On the night of May the 2nd, 1971, Elizabeth Ford reported that the creature reached through a window of their home, grabbing her while she slept on the couch. Her husband, Bobby Ford, and his brother chased the creature away, firing shots at the creature, but apparently missing as they did not find the creature nor blood. The next day, large three-toed footprints and scratch marks were found near the house, but no definitive evidence of the creature's existence was discovered. The story quickly spread, drawing significant media attention. A local radio station even offered a bounty of $1,000 for the capture of the creature, leading to numerous hunting parties and increased local interest. Despite extensive searches, including efforts with trained dogs, no trace of the monster was found. The creature's fame skyrocketed with the release of the 1972 film The Legend of Boggy Creek, a docudrama horror film. The movie, which blended real interviews with dramatizations of encounters, was a significant and unexpected success, grossing over $20 million in unadjusted dollars. The film's popularity led to two sequels, Return to Boggy Creek, 1977, and The Barbaric Beast of Boggy Creek Part 2, both of which failed to gain significant attention. Sightings of the Boggy Creek monster have continued sporadically over the years. Reports include a sighting in 1991 of the creature jumping from a bridge. Witnesses often describe the creature as being aggressive or showing curiosity towards human habitations, emitting high-pitched screams. The creature is also sometimes seen crossing highways, generally late at night. Skeptics, however, have pointed to various inconsistencies and the possibility of hoaxes. For instance, an archaeologist from Southern State College analyzed the footprints found near the Ford residence and concluded that they were likely a hoax. He argued that the tracks, having only 3 toes, did not match any known primate, as all primates have 5 toes. Despite the skepticism, the Boggy Creek monster remains an enduring part of the local folklore and culture. Today, the creature's legend is celebrated locally, with the town of Fook hosting a small festival to promote awareness of the creature and bolster tourism. The Curse of the Koh-i-Noor Diamond. The Koh-i-Noor diamond is a 105-carat diamond and is currently part of the British Crown Jewels. The exact origins of the Koh-i-Noor are unclear, but it is believed to have been mined in the Golconda region of India around the 13th century. The first documented mention of a diamond, possibly being the Koh-i-Noor, comes from the memoirs of Babur, the founder of the Mughal Empire, in the early 16th century. He described a large diamond that was likely the Koh-i-Noor, which he acquired as a tribute following his conquest of Delhi in 1526. The diamond passed through several hands aside from the Mughal emperors. Other early holders of the diamond included the Persian ruler Nader Shah and the Afghan Durrani dynasty. Nader Shah is credited with naming the diamond Koh-i-Noor, meaning Mountain of Light, when he saw it in 1739. In the early 19th century, the diamond came into the possession of Maharaja Ranjit Singh of the Sikh Empire. His admiration for the gem further elevated its status. After his death, the British East India Company annexed Punjab in 1849 and seized the diamond under the Treaty of Lahore. The Koh-i-Noor was then sent to Queen Victoria and became a part of the British Crown Jewels. However, its initial reception was underwhelming due to its supposedly dull appearance. Prince Albert, Victoria's consort, ordered it to be recut, reducing its size but enhancing its brilliance. Alongside its historical significance, the Koh-i-Noor is believed to be cursed, bringing misfortune to any man who wears it. The curse is thought to have originated from a Hindu text that declared the diamond would bring bad luck to its male owner, but would bless a female owner. Some historical incidents are believed to support this theory. For instance, Queen Victoria possessed the diamond while the British Empire was at the height of its influence, and while her grandchildren occupied thrones across Europe. The diamond was part of the Mughal treasury and was owned by several emperors. Shah Jahan, the emperor who built the Taj Mahal, experienced immense personal loss and imprisonment by his own son Aurangzeb, who then took possession of the diamond. After Nader Shah took the diamond during his invasion of Delhi in 1739, he faced numerous rebellions and was eventually slain by his own troops. The diamond was taken by Ahmad Shah Durrani, the founder of the Afghan Empire. His descendants struggled with internal strife and conflicts, which weakened the empire significantly. Maharaja Ranjit Singh acquired the Koh-i-Noor, but after his death, his empire fell into disarray, and within 10 years, it was annexed to the British East India Company. Today, the Koh-i-Noor is displayed in the Tower of London. Its possession remains a point of contention, with claims from India, Pakistan, Iran, and Afghanistan, all demanding its return. The British government maintains that the diamond was obtained legally through the Treaty of Lahore. The disappearance of Emanuela Orlandi. Emanuela, a 15-year-old Vatican City resident, vanished on June 22, 1983, while returning home from a music lesson in Rome. Emanuela was the daughter of Ercole Orlandi, a Vatican employee responsible for organizing papal audiences. Her disappearance quickly gained international attention, partly due to the public appeal made by Pope John Paul II for her safe return. In the days following her disappearance, several mysterious phone calls were made to the Orlandi family. A man named Pierluigi claimed to have seen Emanuela selling cosmetics near a bar, suggesting she had run away. Another caller, Mario, linked her to a group of runaways. These calls led investigators to believe that the callers had some inside knowledge about Emanuela and her friends. The most significant development came when a man with an American accent, dubbed the American, claimed to represent a group holding Emanuela. He demanded the release of Mehmet Ali Agca, the man who attempted to slay Pope John Paul II in 1981. Despite playing a recording of Emanuela's voice as proof, the caller's identity and credibility were never confirmed. Several theories suggest that Emanuela's disappearance was linked to criminal organizations. Aga himself claimed that a far-right group had kidnapped Emanuela to pressure the Vatican into securing his release, though he has apparently since recanted this story. Another theory involves the Italian mafia. According to this theory, the mafia kidnapped Emanuela to force the Vatican to repay large sums of money loaned to the Vatican Bank. Enrico de Pettis, a gang leader, was even accused of being directly involved in her abduction. His former girlfriend claimed that he confessed to kidnapping Emanuela, but concrete evidence remains elusive. One of the more disturbing theories suggests that Emanuela was taken by individuals within the Vatican. In 2012, a priest alleged that she had been abducted and subjected to abuse during alleged illicit parties, which the priest claimed took place in the Vatican. This theory gained some traction after a friend of Emanuela claimed that she had confided about being harassed by someone close to the Pope shortly before her disappearance. Further fueling suspicions, documents leaked in 2016 during the Vatican leaks scandal indicated that the Vatican might have known Emanuela's whereabouts until at least 1997. These documents suggested that she had been living in London under the Vatican's protection, but this claim has never been verified. In recent years, several investigations have been launched to uncover the truth. In 2019, the Vatican authorized the opening of 2 tombs in the Teutonic Cemetery based on a tip suggesting Emanuela was buried there. However, the remains found were much older than her disappearance. In 2023, the Vatican reopened the investigation into Emanuela's disappearance, looking into possible connections with the case of another missing girl from the same period. The search for the truth goes on, driven by the hope that one day the fate of Emanuela Orlandi will finally be revealed. The Naga fireballs, also known as Mekong lights, are a mesmerizing natural phenomenon observed annually along a 300-mile stretch of the Mekong River in Thailand. This spectacle, occurring typically around October, features mysterious glowing orbs that spontaneously emerge from the river and ascend into the sky. The size of these glowing balls ranges from small sparkles to large orbs as big as basketballs, captivating thousands of spectators each year. The cause of the Naga fireballs has been a subject of intrigue, and various theories attempt to explain this phenomenon. One of the prevailing scientific theories suggests that the fireballs are the result of flammable gases like methane or phosphine. According to this theory, it is produced by bacterial activity in the river's sediment. These gases are thought to ignite upon contact with oxygen when they reach the surface, creating the fiery display. Another theory proposes that the fireballs are a type of plasma orb, generated when electrical energy discharges into the water. Beyond the scientific explanations, there are also cultural interpretations rooted in local folklore and religion. Many locals believe these fireballs are supernatural in origin, produced by the Naga, a mythical serpent-like creature said to reside in the river. This belief ties the phenomenon to the spiritual and cultural practices of the region, particularly local Buddhist traditions. The festival celebrating this phenomenon attracts not only locals but also tourists, adding a significant cultural and economic dimension to the region. The Rohank Codex is a mysterious manuscript that was first discovered in Hungary. It surfaced in 1838 when it was donated to the Hungarian Academy of Sciences by Hungarian nobleman Gustav Batthyány. The manuscript, named after the city of Rohank, now Recknitz, Austria, where it was kept in Batthyány's library, is composed of 448 pages filled with text and illustrations. Despite numerous attempts, no one has been able to translate its content successfully. The text is written in a unique script that does not resemble any known writing system. The manuscript's illustrations depict scenes of a religious nature, including Christian, Jewish, Hindu, and Islamic symbols. These illustrations suggest that the text might have a religious or historical significance. Some theories suggest that it was created in the 18th century, possibly as a hoax by Samuel Nemes, a known forger of antiquities. However, this theory is disputed, and there is no conclusive evidence linking Nemes to the Codex. Another theory posits that the text is written in an early form of the Hungarian version of the Latin alphabet. Others suggest it could be a version of the Sumerian language when read upside down. Another theory proposed that the text was written in the vulgar Latin dialect of Dacia and described the history of the Vlachs in their battles against Hungarians and Pechenegs. However, these theories lack consistent proof and have faced substantial criticism. In recent years, Hungarian researchers have suggested that the manuscript might contain biblical references and prayers. This is based on the structure and patterns found in the text, but a definitive translation remains elusive. Efforts to decode the Rohank Codex continue, with modern technology and computer algorithms being employed to crack the manuscript's secrets. Despite these efforts, the Codex remains entirely unsolved, intriguing cryptographers, historians, and amateur codebreakers alike. The June bug epidemic. In June 1962, the June bug epidemic emerged at a textile factory located in North Carolina. The incident began with a single worker reporting being bitten and subsequently feeling ill. This report triggered widespread concern among her colleagues, and soon, many others began experiencing similar symptoms. Approximately 62 workers at a dressmaking department developed symptoms that included rashes, nausea, dizziness, and numbness. This strange phenomenon quickly garnered media attention, which dubbed the outbreak the June bug epidemic, due to the workers' belief that they were being bitten by an insect. The textile mill workers reported seeing and feeling bites from bugs, but entomologists and health experts found no evidence of insects that could cause such symptoms. The Center for Disease Control conducted an investigation and concluded that the symptoms were likely the result of mass hysteria. Mass hysteria is often triggered by stress or anxiety. In this case, the factory had recently opened and was operating under high-stress conditions with poor organization. Many of the affected workers were on the same shift and worked in close proximity, which facilitated the spread of the symptoms through social contagion. However, some skeptics suggested that the symptoms could have been caused by exposure to a chemical or toxin in the factory. The textile industry at the time used various chemicals in the production process. An accidental exposure could potentially lead to symptoms like rashes and nausea. However, extensive investigations found no evidence to support this theory, as toxicological reports did not reveal any harmful substances that could explain the outbreak. The Isle of Demons. The Isle of Demons, a phantom island, appeared on maps from the early 16th century until the mid-17th century. This legendary island, often associated with Quirpon Island near Newfoundland, was reputed to be inhabited by demons and wild beasts that tormented those who ventured near. The first notable appearance of the Isle of Demons was on a 1508 map by Johannes Ruysch, which depicted the island near Newfoundland. Ruysch may have relocated the mythical island of Satanazes, originally shown on 15th century maps in the mid-Atlantic, to a new position near Newfoundland. The island continued to be featured on maps, including a detailed depiction by Giacomo Gastaldi in 1556, which portrayed it as a large island with illustrations of flying demons. The island's terrifying reputation was fueled by sailors' reports of strange noises and ghostly apparitions. These tales likely stemmed from a combination of superstition and the hazardous, uncharted waters of the North Atlantic. One of the most famous stories linked to the Isle of Demons is that of Marguerite de la Roque, a French noblewoman marooned on the island in 1542. Marguerite was abandoned by her uncle, Jean-François de la Roque de Roberval, reportedly due to her illicit affair with a young man on their voyage to New France. Marguerite allegedly survived alone on the island for several years before being rescued, and her story has been retold by numerous historians and writers. The exact location and existence of the Isle of Demons have been subjects of debate. Some historians suggest that the island was a misinterpretation of local indigenous legends about haunted places where spirits resided. The island's depiction gradually faded from maps as European explorers, including Jacques Cartier, more accurately charted the region's geography. The Olmecs. The Olmec civilization, flourishing from around 1200 BC to 400 BC, is considered the earliest major civilization in Mesoamerica, laying foundational aspects for subsequent cultures like the Maya and Aztec. Emerging in the tropical lowlands of what is now southern Mexico, particularly in the states of Veracruz and Tabasco, the Olmec society is notable for its monumental architecture and complex social structures. The civilization's heartland was marked by significant sites such as San Lorenzo, La Venta, Tres Zapotes, and Laguna de los Cheros. These cities featured ceremonial centers, pyramids, and ball courts, indicating an organized and hierarchical society with distinct roles for rulers, priests, and common people. The Olmecs are often referred to as the rubber people, due to their practice of extracting latex from rubber trees to create rubber. The most iconic artifacts of the Olmec civilization are the colossal stone heads, some reaching heights of nearly 11 feet and weighing up to 40 tons. These heads, believed to represent Olmec rulers, display individualized facial features and elaborate headgear. The precise purpose of these heads remains debated, with theories suggesting they served as markers for sacred sites or as symbols of political power. The logistics of transporting the massive basalt boulders used to carve these heads, often from sources over 50 miles away, also remain a subject of debate. In addition to these monumental sculptures, the Olmecs excelled in creating intricate jade carvings, pottery, and figurines. Their artworks often featured religious symbols and depictions of animals, particularly the jaguar, which held significant spiritual meaning. Agriculturally, the Olmecs were advanced, cultivating maize, beans, and squash, using innovative techniques like raised fields and terracing. These methods allowed them to sustain large populations and develop urban centers. The Olmec also developed a form of early writing, the Epi-Olmec script, though it remains only partially deciphered. Despite extensive archaeological research, many aspects of Olmec civilization remain enigmatic. The exact origins of the Olmec civilization remain unclear. While they emerged around the middle of the second millennium BC, the specifics of their cultural and societal development are not well documented. Archaeologists have yet to determine the factors that led to their advanced state of civilization so early in Mesoamerican history. Similarly, their decline is not well understood. Some theories suggest environmental changes might have disrupted their agricultural base and led to societal collapse. Others propose that internal strife or invasions by other groups could have contributed to their downfall. The story of Artyom Sidorkin, a Russian man who purportedly grew a tree in his lung, is one of the most bizarre medical cases ever reported. In 2009, Artyom sought medical help for severe chest pain and persistent coughing, which occasionally included blood. Suspecting cancer, doctors decided to perform surgery to remove what they believed to be a tumor based on X-ray images showing a mass in his lung. During the surgery, the medical team discovered a small green fir tree sapling, about 2 inches long, growing inside Sidorkin's lung. The surgeon was initially in disbelief, but subsequent examination confirmed that it was indeed a tree. The prevailing theory is that Sidorkin inhaled a fir seed, which found a conducive environment in his lung to germinate and grow. Lungs, being warm and moist, could theoretically support seed germination. The sapling may have caused chest pain by its needles pricking lung tissue and capillaries, leading to the coughing up of blood. This unusual case has sparked considerable debate and extreme skepticism amongst experts and the general public alike. Some experts argue that such a scenario is highly improbable because plants generally require sunlight to grow, a condition not available inside the human body. Moreover, the logistics of a seed not only surviving but thriving inside the lung remain scientifically contentious. Nonetheless, the case has never been definitively debunked or confirmed as a hoax, leaving it an open topic for debate. Today, Sidorkin is believed to be living a normal life, having made a full recovery post-surgery. The sleepwalking crimes. Sleepwalking, or somnambulism, is a phenomenon that has fascinated and perplexed humanity for centuries. Research into sleepwalking has revealed that it occurs during the non-REM stages of sleep. Factors like stress, sleep deprivation, and genetics can increase the likelihood of sleepwalking. Studies have shown that about 15% of children experience sleepwalking, but most outgrow it, while a smaller percentage of adults continue to exhibit the behavior. Advancements in sleep research suggest that sleepwalking may result from the brain not being fully synchronized during sleep. Defined as a disorder that causes people to perform complex behaviors while in a state of partial arousal from deep sleep, it ranges from mundane activities like walking to more complex and potentially dangerous behaviors. Among the most alarming instances are those where individuals have committed violent acts while sleepwalking. One of the earliest recorded cases of violent behavior attributed to sleepwalking dates back to 1846, involving Albert Tyrrell in Massachusetts. Tyrrell was charged with the violent demise of Maria Bickford in Boston. His defense attorney argued that Tyrrell had been sleepwalking during the incident. This defense was novel at the time and focused on the idea that Tyrrell was in a state of automatism, acting without conscious control. Tyrrell was acquitted, setting a precedent for future cases. Another case involves Kenneth Parks in 1987. He drove 14 miles to his in-laws' house, where he attacked them, leading to severe injuries for his father-in-law and the passing of his mother-in-law. After the attack, Parks went to a police station, apparently unaware of his actions. His defense team presented evidence of his history of sleepwalking and the immense stress he was under, leading to his acquittal. The Supreme Court of Canada upheld the acquittal against him, accepting the defense that he was not aware of his actions due to his sleepwalking state. Scott Fallader's case in 1997 is another notable example. Fallader was accused of a violent act against his spouse, but he claimed to have been sleepwalking. Despite his defense, the jury found him guilty, illustrating the skepticism that often surrounds such claims. The legal system has struggled with how to handle cases involving sleepwalking. The primary challenge is determining criminal responsibility. Courts must consider medical evidence, expert testimony, and the defendant's history of sleep disorders. Several theories attempt to explain why some individuals exhibit violent behaviors while sleepwalking. One theory suggests that extreme stress or traumatic events can trigger such episodes. Another proposes that certain medications or substances, like alcohol, can exacerbate sleepwalking tendencies. Additionally, familial patterns of sleep disorders indicate a potential genetic predisposition. Andrew Johnson's inaugural address as Vice President of the United States on March 4, 1865, is infamous for its chaotic and inebriated delivery. Andrew Johnson was a Southern Democrat from Tennessee who remained loyal to the Union during the Civil War. Chosen by Abraham Lincoln as his running mate in 1864 to appeal to war Democrats and Southern Unionists, Johnson's ascension to the vice presidency came at a crucial juncture in American history. However, Johnson was not in the best of health leading up to the inauguration. Suffering from typhoid fever, he may have attempted to self-medicate with whiskey, a decision that would dramatically impact his inaugural performance. On the day of the inauguration, approximately 50,000 people gathered in Washington, D.C., under a rain-soaked sky to witness Lincoln's second swearing-in and Johnson's first. The vice presidential oath was to be administered first, followed by Johnson's inaugural address. The Senate chamber was packed with senators, House members, Supreme Court justices, diplomats, and cabinet members, including President Lincoln, seated prominently. When Johnson began his speech, it quickly became evident that he was intoxicated. His address was a rambling, incoherent monologue that vacillated between shouting and whispering. He extolled his humble origins, repeatedly declaring, "I am a plebeian, I glory in it," and emphasized that power derived from the people. Despite repeated attempts by outgoing Vice President Hannibal Hamlin to cut him off, Johnson persisted, causing considerable embarrassment and dismay among the assembled dignitaries. Johnson's speech included awkward interactions with cabinet members. At one point, he struggled to remember the name of the Secretary of the Navy, prompting him to loudly ask, "What is the name of the Secretary of the Navy?" This spectacle continued for about 20 minutes until Johnson finally took the oath of office, holding the Bible and declaring, "I kiss this book in the face of my nation of the United States." The reaction to Johnson's speech was swift and severe. Newspapers across the country condemned his behavior. Several senators introduced a resolution calling for Johnson's resignation, a motion that President Lincoln dismissed, expressing his confidence in Johnson's character. Numerous theories abound regarding the true extent of Johnson's intoxication. Some historians suggest that Johnson's reliance on whiskey was an attempt to manage his typhoid fever symptoms, which included fatigue and weakness. Additionally, accounts of the lavish party Johnson attended the night before the inauguration, where he allegedly drank heavily, further fuel the narrative of his inebriation. Johnson's drunken inaugural address remains a blemish on his political career, sometimes overshadowing even his subsequent extremely controversial presidency. Notably, just 42 days after this public relations nightmare, Abraham Lincoln was cut down by a bullet from John Wilkes Booth, and Johnson succeeded to the presidency. Younger Dryas. The Younger Dryas, a significant climatic event, occurred 12,900 to 11,700 years ago. This period marked a sudden and intense return to glacial conditions in the northern hemisphere, after a general warming trend. The term Younger Dryas is derived from the Dryas octopetala, an Arctic flower that thrived during this cold period. During the Younger Dryas, temperatures in the northern hemisphere plummeted dramatically. Greenland, for instance, experienced temperature drops of up to 18 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 degrees Celsius. Europe saw declines of up to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, while parts of North America also faced significant cooling. This cooling was abrupt and intense, disrupting the warmer climate that had been developing since the last ice age. One of the most debated aspects of the Younger Dryas is its cause. One popular theory is the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, which suggests that a cosmic event, such as a comet or asteroid impact, triggered this abrupt climate change. Proponents of this theory point to the discovery of high levels of platinum group metals, iridium-enriched magnetic grains, and nanodiamonds in sediment layers dating to the start of the Younger Dryas. These materials are typically associated with cosmic chimpacts. Additionally, the identification of possible impact craters beneath the Greenland ice sheet lends some credence to this hypothesis. However, the exact ages of these craters remain uncertain. Contrarily, other scientists argue that the Younger Dryas could have been caused by terrestrial events. One leading alternative theory suggests that the sudden influx of fresh water into the North Atlantic from a melting ice sheet could have disrupted Atlantic currents. This disruption would have significantly cooled the climate, particularly in the northern hemisphere. The Younger Dryas also coincides with notable archaeological and ecological changes. It marks the end of the Clovis culture in North America, a prehistoric Paleo-Indian culture known for its distinctive stone tools. Some researchers suggest that the abrupt climate shift and resultant environmental stress contributed to the decline of the Clovis culture. Additionally, this period saw the extinction of several megafaunal species, including mammoths and saber-toothed cats, which some theories link to both climate change and human hunting pressures. Interestingly, the Younger Dryas had uneven effects globally. While it caused significant cooling in the northern hemisphere, some regions, like parts of the southeastern United States and the Caribbean, experienced little temperature change. This disparity highlights the complex and regionally varied impacts of global climatic events. Another layer of mystery surrounds the timing of the Younger Dryas. Recent studies indicate that the cooling may have begun at different times across the globe. For example, evidence from East Asia suggests that the onset of the Younger Dryas there was delayed by several hundred years compared to the North Atlantic. As research continues, new discoveries will further illuminate the causes and effects of this period in Earth's history. The Emela entuca. The Emela entuca is a cryptid that hails from the dense swamps and river regions of Central Africa, specifically the Likuala swamps in the Republic of the Congo. Its name translates to "killer of elephants" in Lingala, indicative of its fearsome reputation among local tribes. Described as a large, elephant-sized creature, The Emelantuka is primarily noted for its formidable single horn, which it uses to attack elephants and other large animals. Physically, the Emelantuka is said to have a hairless, grayish, or brownish skin, and is often compared to a rhinoceros due to its robust build and prominent horn. However, its tail, which resembles that of a crocodile, and its amphibious lifestyle distinguish it from known rhinoceros species. Witnesses and local folklore describe it as both a terrestrial and aquatic beast, capable of traversing dense forests and swimming across rivers with ease. Cryptozoologists have speculated about the Emelantuka's origins, with some suggesting it could be a surviving member of the Ceratopsia family, akin to the Triceratops. This hypothesis stems from its horned appearance and aggressive behavior towards other large animals, similar to how some ceratopsians might have behaved. Despite these theories, concrete evidence remains elusive, and much of what is known about the Emelantuka is derived from anecdotal accounts and sporadic reports. Prominent cryptozoologist and University of Chicago professor Roy McCall, known for his expeditions in search of the Mokele-mbembe, another Congolese cryptid, gathered numerous accounts of the Emelantuka during his trips. His findings include various testimonies from locals who described encounters with the creature, often emphasizing its deadly confrontations with elephants and other large fauna. These stories have fueled further interest and speculation in the cryptid community about the true nature of the Emelantuka. In addition to the Congo, reports of similar creatures have emerged from neighboring regions, such as Zambia, particularly around Lake Tanganyika. These sightings contribute to the theory that the Emelantuka, or a similar cryptid, may inhabit a broader range across Central Africa. Despite its terrifying reputation, the Emelantuka is a herbivore, feeding on a diet of aquatic plants and foliage from the region's dense vegetation. However, its aggressive nature, especially when threatened or during territorial disputes, has made it a significant subject of local folklore and cautionary tales. This obscure cryptid was suggested by Discord community member Orc Lord Dave. Remember, if you have any cases or stories you want featured in this series, feel free to join the Discord by clicking the link in the description or leave a comment below. The Whitehall Mystery. On October 2, 1888, construction workers at the site of the future New Scotland Yard discovered a woman's torso in a cellar vault. This gruesome find was soon followed by the discovery of a right arm in the River Thames near Pimlico and a left leg buried nearby. The remains were identified as belonging to a woman approximately 24 years old, 5 feet 8 inches tall, and well-nourished. The victim's uterus had been removed, suggesting a certain degree of anatomical knowledge on the part of the perpetrator. Theories abound regarding the identity of the Whitehall Mystery's victim and the person responsible for the crime. Some investigators believe the perpetrator could have been a butcher or veterinarian, individuals skilled in dismemberment and dissection. Others speculated a connection to medical professionals due to the anatomical precision involved. Despite the meticulous dismemberment, the identity of the victim and the motive behind the crime remain unknown. Theories regarding the perpetrator range from a lone killer with medical knowledge to a more sinister connection with the Thames torso slayings. These included the discovery of another torso in Rainham in 1887 and the dismembered remains of Elizabeth Jackson in 1889. The Whitehall Mystery also stirred speculation about a connection to Jack the Ripper. Although the Metropolitan Police dismissed this theory, the timing and nature of the crime led many to believe in a possible link. The removal of the uterus in both the Whitehall case and some of the Ripper's known victims fueled this speculation. The inquest into the Whitehall Mystery was led by John Troutbeck, the coroner for Westminster. He concluded that the woman had not suffocated or drowned, but the exact cause of the demise could not be determined, though hemorrhaging could not be ruled out. The discovery of newspaper fragments with the body, dated from August 1888, suggested that the remains had been disposed of some weeks after the victim's demise. Despite numerous theories and the sensational nature of the crime, the Whitehall mystery remains unsolved. Crystal Rogers, a 35-year-old mother of 5 from Bardstown, Kentucky, vanished on July 3, 2015. Her boyfriend, Brooks Houck, reported that she was last seen at their home. 2 days later, her car was found abandoned with a flat tire on the Bluegrass Parkway, with her purse and phone still inside. The investigation into her disappearance has been extensive and complex. Brooks Houck quickly became the prime suspect. Despite his claims of innocence, his involvement raised suspicions, particularly after his brother, Nick Houck, a Bardstown police officer, was fired for allegedly interfering with the investigation. Cell phone records and triangulation technology have been crucial in tracking movements and communications around the time Rogers disappeared. In 2020 and 2021, the FBI conducted multiple searches at the Houck family farm and other properties connected to Brooks Houck. These searches were prompted by new evidence and tips from the community. One significant search in 2021 led to the recovery of an item of interest from the concrete at one of the houses built by Houck's construction company. Several individuals have been charged in connection with Rogers' disappearance. In September 2023, Joseph Lawson was indicted for conspiracy and tampering with physical evidence. Joseph's father, Stephen Lawson, was arrested a few months later. According to court documents, Stephen Lawson was asked by Brooks Houck to move Rogers' car and has admitted to investigators that he picked up his son Joseph. Prosecutors claim that Stephen Lawson's involvement is more significant than he admits. They allege that Stephen and Joseph Lawson conspired with Houck to cover up Rogers' disappearance. Following this, Brooks Houck was formally charged with the slaying. His bond was set at $10 million due to the severity of the charges and his previous attempts to obstruct the investigation. The trial dates for these individuals are set for 2025, with ongoing discussions about separating the trials to avoid conflicts in testimonies. The case also interconnects with the mysterious death of Crystal Rogers' father, Tommy Ballard. 16 months after Rogers disappeared, Ballard was shot while hunting on his property. The circumstances of his passing have led many to believe that it might be connected to his relentless search for his daughter. Despite years of investigation and multiple arrests, Crystal Rogers' whereabouts remain unknown. The FBI and local law enforcement continue to seek new leads, with substantial rewards offered for information. Agtekerke. In 1724, the Dutch East India Company, VOC, constructed a ship named Agtekerke, a formidable vessel measuring 145 feet in length and boasting a displacement of 280 tons. It also boasted a crew of 200 men and was heavily equipped with cannons. This ship was built by the Chamber of Zeeland in the Netherlands and embarked on its maiden voyage in 1725. The Agtekerke set sail from the Netherlands to Batavia, present-day Jakarta, Indonesia, with an important stopover at the Cape of Good Hope. The Agtekerke's journey took a tragic turn after departing from the Cape of Good Hope on January 27, 1726. Despite being well equipped with a crew of 200 and carrying valuable cargo, including silver coins and precious metals valued at 200,000 guilders, the ship vanished without a trace. It was reported that after the wreck of the Zeewick, another Dutch ship, its crew discovered remnants of an older shipwreck. These remains, found on the Abrolhos Islands off the coast of Western Australia, included items such as old rope, rawhide, and a vintage hand grenade. This theory gained traction when, In 1963, Western Australian shipwreck hunter Hugh Edwards and his team discovered the wreck of the Zeewick. Further exploration in 1966 led Edwards to find an elephant tusk near the site, which he believed pointed to the Agtakerke. Unlike the Zeewick, which did not carry ivory, the Agtakerke had taken on over 200 ivory tusks at the Cape. Despite extensive searches and theories suggesting that the Agtakerke might lie near the Zeewick wreck, concrete evidence remains elusive. Skeptics argue that the extra cannons, ivory, and anchors found could be from other wrecks in the Abrolhos Islands. Fernando Solihon was a Filipino radio journalist known for his critical stance on corruption and wrongdoing. His career in broadcasting spanned 7 years, during which he gained a reputation for his fearless commentary. On August 29, 2013, Solihon's life came to a tragic end when he was shot multiple times by 2 motorcycle-riding assailants as he was leaving a friend's place after an evening gathering. He was about to enter his car when the attackers struck, firing several shots that hit him in the forehead, abdomen, and shoulders. Despite immediate efforts to rush him to the hospital, Solihon did not survive the journey. He had been receiving numerous threats due to his outspoken nature, especially in the lead-up to the May 13th national midterm and local elections. His wife, Melly, confirmed that these threats had intensified, causing Solihon to be extra cautious. In fact, just hours after the incident, she received calls inquiring if the tragic news was true, highlighting the tense environment in which Solihon operated. His death was part of a broader pattern of violence against journalists in the Philippines, a country that has struggled with a high rate of media-related attacks. Since the fall of the dictator Ferdinand Marcos in 1986, Solihon became the 159th journalist to face such an attack in the line of duty. Despite various investigations, no suspects were apprehended, and no suspects have been officially named. The pygmy elephant. To quickly interject, I have to say this is perhaps the laziest name for a cryptid I've encountered, and honestly, I love it. The pygmy elephant is an elusive cryptid reported from the Ituri rainforest in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. This creature is said to be even smaller than the recognized pygmy elephant, often described as not exceeding a height of 4 feet at the shoulder. The first significant reports of the pygmy elephant came from Italian explorer Attilio Gatti during his African expeditions in the early 20th century. Attilio, who documented reports of several cryptids, gathered numerous accounts from local inhabitants and administrators about these diminutive elephants. One of the notable mentions includes an account where a game warden had to climb a tree to avoid an aggressive herd of these tiny elephants. The pygmy elephant is described as resembling a miniature version of its larger relatives, but maintains the characteristic features of elephants. These include a long trunk, large ears, and tusks, although significantly reduced in size. Their coloration is often reported as reddish-brown, which has led to local names such as the red elephant. These cryptids are believed to inhabit dense forest regions where they can remain hidden from human observers. They are described as herbivorous, similar to other elephant species, feeding on a variety of vegetation found in the rainforest. Despite their small size, they are known to exhibit typical elephant behavior, including forming herds and displaying protective instincts towards their young. Several theories attempt to explain the potential existence of the pygmy elephant. Some researchers suggest that they could be a dwarf subspecies of the African forest elephant, possibly resulting from genetic mutations or environmental adaptations. Others speculate that they might be remnants of an ancient population of dwarf elephants that once roamed the region. The concept of dwarfism in elephants is widespread, even beyond the standard recognized pygmy elephant. Historical records and fossil evidence show that dwarf elephants existed on various islands around the world. such as Sicily and Malta during the Pleistocene epoch. These island dwarf elephants evolved significantly smaller sizes compared to their mainland counterparts due to limited resources and lack of predators. This phenomenon, known as insular dwarfism, might offer a parallel explanation for the pygmy elephant if it were proven to exist. While I note that I find most land-based cryptids to generally have a low probability of existing, this one seems like it very much could be the real deal. Unfortunately, the area where these creatures are said to exist has dealt with significant instability for many decades, limiting any further research into this potential animal. Oh, and another thing about the pygmy elephant is that despite their small stature, they have really long trunks. Who put Bella in the wych elm? On April 18, 1943, 4 boys made a shocking discovery in Hagley Wood, Worcestershire, England. They found the skeletal remains of a woman inside a hollow wych elm tree. This discovery led to a mystery that remains unsolved to this day. Who put Bella in the wych elm? The skeleton was discovered when one of the boys climbed the tree and saw a skull. Upon further investigation, authorities found a nearly complete skeleton, along with a shoe, a gold wedding ring, and fragments of clothing. The remains also included a hand, which was located some distance away from the rest of the body. The pathologist concluded that the woman, estimated to be around 35 years old, had been placed in the tree shortly after she died, as her body would not have fit once rigor mortis set in. The identity of Bella, as she was colloquially known, was widely discussed. One theory is linked to espionage during World War II. A declassified MI5 file introduced the possibility that Bella was Clara Bauerle, a German cabaret singer and actress allegedly involved in espionage. Joseph Jacobs, a captured spy, claimed Bauerle was trained as a spy and might have been sent to England. However, records show Bauerle died in Berlin in 1942, casting doubt on this theory. That said, when dealing with the official records of individuals involved in espionage, everything needs to be taken with a dosage of suspicion. Another espionage theory involves a woman named Clarabella Dronkers. It was suggested that she was killed by a German spy ring for, quote, knowing too much. However, this story remains unverified, and what she actually is alleged to have known varies depending on tellings of the tale. Additionally, a letter from a woman named Anna, later identified as Una Mossop, claimed that Bella was a spy who had been killed by her husband, Jack Mossop, and an accomplice. According to Una, Bella was suffocated and placed in the tree, which led to Jack Mossop's eventual mental breakdown and death. Beyond espionage, some theories delve into the realm of the occult. The severed hand found near the body led some to speculate about ritualistic practices. The Hand of Glory, a concept from European folklore, involves the use of a severed hand for magical purposes. For those unfamiliar, the Hand of Glory is a dried and pickled hand of a hanged man or woman. The hand that committed the offense that led to the hanging was often considered to be of heightened ritualistic power. Some have suggested that Bella might have been a victim of a ritualistic killing by witches, as Hagley Wood had a reputation for being associated with witchcraft. Adding to the mystery, graffiti began appearing in the West Midlands area in 1944, asking, "Who put Bella in the wych elm?" This graffiti, which periodically reappears, fueled speculation and public interest. The name Bella was not linked to any missing person reports from the time, and the graffiti's origin remains unknown. The Pollock twins. The Pollock twins, Gillian and Jennifer, have been a subject of debate for decades, often cited as evidence of reincarnation. Their story begins with the tragic incident on May 5th, 1957, in Hexham, England, when Joanna Pollock, 11, and her sister Jacqueline, 6, were struck by a car while walking to church with their friend. All three children perished in the incident, leaving their parents, John and Florence Pollock, devastated. In the wake of this tragedy, Florence became pregnant again and gave birth to twins, Jillian and Jennifer, on October 4th, 1958. John, a firm believer in reincarnation, was struck by the fact that Jennifer had birthmarks identical to scars Jacqueline had, one on her forehead and another on her waist. From a young age, the twins exhibited behaviors and knowledge that seemed extremely similar to their deceased sisters. When the family returned to Hexham, the twins were able to identify landmarks they had never seen before. They pointed out their late sister's school, the Hexham Abbey, and a playground their sisters frequented. Additionally, the twins requested their old toys, recognizing and naming them accurately despite never having seen them before. These incidents were particularly striking because Florence had kept these toys out of sight. The twins' personalities also mirrored those of Joanna and Jacqueline. Jillian, like Joanna, was protective and motherly towards Jennifer, much as Joanna had been to Jacqueline. Their play often involved scenarios from the past, including a disturbing instance where Florence found them reenacting the accident. The case drew the attention of Dr. Ian Stevenson, a psychologist who studied reincarnation. He documented the Pollock twins in his work on children's past life memories, noting the significant and detailed recollections the twins seemed to have of their sisters' lives. Stevenson's research suggested that the twins' knowledge and behaviors were too specific to be coincidental. He included their case in his 1987 book, Children Who Remember Previous Lives, A Question of Reincarnation, alongside other similar cases from around the world. Despite these compelling anecdotes, skeptics argue that the twins' memories could have been influenced by their family environment. John Pollock's strong belief in reincarnation and the inevitable discussions about their lost sisters within the family might have led the twins to subconsciously absorb these details. Moreover, some suggest that their older siblings might have unknowingly shared stories about Joanna and Jacqueline, which the twins then internalized. As the Pollock twins grew older, their past life memories began to fade. By the age of 5, the vivid recollections of their deceased sisters' lives had mostly disappeared. Despite their early years being marked by these peculiar memories and behaviors, the twins eventually led normal lives. In their later years, the twins were interviewed by Dr. Ian Stevenson, who had studied their case extensively. By the time they were in their 20s, they did not remember the past life experiences that had made them famous. Jillian experienced a few, quote, visions in 1981, where she described playing in a sandpit at a house in Wickham. These visions were among the few lingering traces of their supposed past lives. They acknowledged their parents' belief that they were the reincarnations of their older sisters, but expressed mild skepticism about reincarnation overall. Remember to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. The disappearance of Jim Gray. Jim Gray, an eminent computer scientist and researcher, vanished under mysterious circumstances on January 28, 2007. He set sail from San Francisco to scatter his mother's ashes near the Farallon Islands, located roughly 27 miles off the coast of San Francisco. Despite the clear weather and calm sea conditions, Gray never returned, and neither he nor his 40-foot sailboat, the Tenacious, were ever found. Jim Gray was highly respected in his field, notably for his contributions to database technology and transaction processing, which earned him the Turing Award in 1998. His work had profound impacts across various high-tech industries, influencing everything from cash machines to online ticketing systems. The search for Gray turned into one of the most extensive maritime search and rescue operations in U.S. history. It spanned over 100,000 square miles and included efforts from the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard employed sophisticated technology and statistical methods to predict potential locations of his boat. They also conducted a conventional 4-day search using planes, helicopters, and boats, but found nothing. Despite these extensive efforts, no distress signals were received, and Gray's emergency beacon remained silent throughout. The search expanded with contributions from Silicon Valley and the global tech community, utilizing satellites and NASA aircraft to scan the ocean. On February 1, 2007, the Digital Globe satellite captured thousands of images over the area where Jim Gray disappeared. These images were uploaded to Amazon Mechanical Turk, where Gray's colleagues, friends, students, and computer scientists globally formed a group to analyze them for any signs. This phase of the search concluded on February 16th. An advanced underwater search continued until May 31st. On May 31st, 2008, a tribute to Jim Gray was held by the University of California, Berkeley, and his family. Microsoft, his employer, dedicated its worldwide telescope software to Gray and also established a research center in Madison, Wisconsin, named in his honor. The circumstances surrounding Gray's disappearance have fueled various theories, none of which have been substantiated by evidence. Accidental loss at sea is the prevailing theory, supported by the Coast Guard and search teams, that suggests that Gray may have encountered an unforeseen maritime accident. This could involve a sudden medical emergency, equipment failure, or a catastrophic event that led to him going overboard or his boat sinking. The lack of distress signals and the emergency beacon not being activated add complexity to this theory. Some speculate that technical malfunction, a failure of Gray's boat's navigation or communication systems, could have led to his disappearance. Given his expertise and the sophisticated equipment aboard the Tenacious, this theory considers the possibility that even the most advanced technology can fail under certain conditions. While less supported by evidence, some early speculation included the possibility that Gray might have chosen to disappear. This theory is largely discounted by those who knew him well, citing his strong family ties and the circumstances of his trip. Another less likely scenario discussed is that Gray could have encountered foul play or an accident involving another vessel. However, the absence of any wreckage, distress signals, or credible reports of other ships in the vicinity makes this theory weak. Overall, despite the extensive search efforts and the high-profile nature of the case, the exact details of what happened to Jim Gray remain unknown despite the passage of nearly 2 decades. He was declared legally deceased in 2012, and the investigation into his disappearance has now gone cold. The Sibiu manuscript, a 16th century document, found its way into public awareness when it was discovered in 1961 by Doru Todoriciu at the University of Bucharest. The manuscript, housed in the archives of Sibiu, Romania, spans approximately 450 pages filled with pioneering concepts of rocketry, including multi-stage rockets and the use of liquid fuel. Authored by Konrad Haas, a German military engineer from the Transylvanian Saxon community, the manuscript dates back to between 1550 and 1570. Haas was not only a notable figure in the Austrian military arsenal, but also a visionary in rocket design. His designs are particularly notable for their incorporation of stages, a concept integral to all modern rocketry, and one that predates any other known records by several decades. Interestingly, Haas's manuscript includes detailed diagrams and descriptions that resonate with modern rocket technology, such as delta-shaped fins and bell-shaped nozzles. These elements play critical roles in the aerodynamics and propulsion mechanics of rockets. This advanced thinking is reflected in his recorded musings, where he expressed a preference for peace over warfare, a sentiment that underpins the dual nature of technological advancements. Theories and legends swirl around the actual testing and application of Haas's designs. While some historical indications suggest that Haas might have conducted rocket tests in Sibiu around 1550, concrete documentary evidence remains elusive. The broader impact of his work was not fully recognized until the manuscript's rediscovery in the 20th century. The Sibiu manuscript's descriptions of complex rockets predate, but also possibly inspired later European rocketry pioneers like Johann Schmidtlap in the later 16th century. Schmidtlap's advancements in staged rocketry, which he developed around 1590, are now often seen as derivative of the foundational concepts laid out by Haas. However, the full extent of Conrad Haas's influence on the development of rocketry is presently unknown, given that his works were lost and forgotten for 4 centuries. The petrifying well, also known as the dropping well, is located in Knaresborough, North Yorkshire. This unique geological formation has the ability to turn everyday objects into stone. The earliest documented reference to the petrifying well dates back to 1538, when John Leyland, an antiquary to Henry VIII, mentioned the well in his writings. Leyland described the well as a place where people believed in its miraculous healing powers, often drinking or showering under its waters. The well gained notoriety through its association with the legendary soothsayer Mother Shipton, born Ursula Southall in 1488. Born in a nearby cave, now known as Mother Shipton's Cave, she was rumored to be the daughter of a local woman and the devil, a claim that added to her sinister reputation. Her association with the well and its perceived magical properties only heightened the site's mysterious allure. According to folklore, Mother Shipton's prophecies included predictions of the Great Fire of London and the defeat of the Spanish Armada. In 1630, the well and the land around it were sold to Sir Charles Slingsby, Queen Elizabeth's courtier. He submerged his family's crest in the well, which petrified, becoming a stony testament to his visit. This event helped elevate the well's status, associating it with the royal court and increasing its allure among the nobility. Sir Charles Slingsby capitalized on its growing fame by charging visitors for tours, making it England's first paid visitor attraction. This move cemented the well's status as a must-see destination, a status it maintains to this day. According to modern understanding, the petrifying well's unique ability to petrify objects is not due to witchcraft or magic, but rather a natural geological process. The well's water is rich in minerals, particularly calcium carbonate and calcium sulfate. Researchers suggest that the water's high mineral saturation is due to its route through an extensive system of underground caverns, where it dissolves limestone before emerging at the well. When the water flows over objects, these minerals deposit a hard shell, similar to the formation of stalactites and stalagmites in caves. Remarkably, the petrification process can occur in just 3 to 5 months, depending on the object placed within. This rapid transformation has made the well a subject of scientific interest and a favorite spot for tourists to leave items like teddy bears, hats, and even bicycles. While the scientific explanation of the petrifying process is widely accepted, there have been numerous theories and speculations about the well's powers throughout history. In the past, locals believed the well was cursed or blessed by supernatural forces. Some thought it was a manifestation of the divine, serving as a form of protection, or curse depending on the object or person involved. Another widely believed aspect of the well is its connection to healing and protective powers. For centuries, people believed that drinking or bathing in the well's waters could cure ailments and offer protection from evil. This belief is still fairly widely held today, with many believing mineral water imparts a variety of benefits. The disappearance of Frederick MacDonald. Frederick MacDonald was an Australian politician who mysteriously disappeared in 1926. He was a member of the New South Wales Legislative Assembly. Born in 1872, he worked as a schoolteacher before entering politics. MacDonald represented the Labour Party and was known for his involvement in various political and social causes. On April 15, 1926, MacDonald left his home in Balmain, Sydney, and was never seen again. His disappearance was sudden and unexpected, sparking a nationwide search and extensive media coverage. Despite numerous investigations, no conclusive evidence has ever been found to explain his disappearance. One of the most popular theories is that MacDonald was a victim of foul play due to his political activities. It was a time of significant political tension, and MacDonald had many rivals. But let's discuss a few other theories before we get further into this one, because trust me, it's going to get pretty wild. Another theory suggests that MacDonald might have disappeared voluntarily due to personal issues. It was rumored that he had financial problems and personal disputes that could have led him to vanish to start a new life elsewhere. Some believe that MacDonald might have perished accidentally, perhaps falling into the harbor or meeting with some mishap, with his body never being recovered. However, no evidence has ever been found to support this theory, and no remains have been discovered that could be linked to him. There is also a theory that MacDonald could have been caught up in the activities of organized crime. During that period, there were significant criminal elements operating in Sydney, and it's possible that MacDonald might have run afoul of such groups. However, by far the most interesting suggestion is that he was offed by the Member of Parliament who succeeded him in his seat. At the time of his disappearance, he was embroiled in a legal dispute with Thomas Lay over the results of a recent election. With MacDonald out of the way, the legal dispute ceased. Notably, Thomas Lay was later committed to Broadmoor for a slaying in the UK. Lay is also suspected of having committed numerous other very literal attacks against his political opponents. Despite the passage of nearly a century, the case is still unsolved, and new theories continue to emerge. The disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa. On July 30th, 1975, Jimmy Hoffa, the former president of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, vanished from a parking lot outside a restaurant in Bloomfield, Michigan. Jimmy Hoffa was a powerful and extremely controversial labor leader. Born in 1913 in Brazil, Indiana, he rose to prominence starting in the 1930s and became president of the Teamsters in 1957. Under his leadership, the union grew to over 2 million members, making it one of the most influential labor organizations in the United States. However, Hoffa's career was marred by his connections to organized crime. He was known for his relationships with mob figures, which eventually led to his conviction for jury tampering, fraud, and attempted bribery in 1967. After serving a few years in prison, Hoffa was released in 1971 on the condition that he refrained from union activities until 1980. On the day of his disappearance, Hoffa was reportedly set to meet with Anthony Provenzano, a Teamster official with alleged mafia ties, and Anthony Giacalone, a known Detroit mobster. Witnesses saw Hoffa waiting in the restaurant's parking lot and then getting into a car with several other men. That was the last confirmed sighting of him. In the absence of concrete evidence, numerous theories have emerged over the years about what happened to Hoffa. One popular theory, advanced by mob hitman Richard the Iceman Kuklinski, claims Hoffa was slain, placed in a steel drum, and buried in a New Jersey landfill. However, searches in the area have turned up no evidence to support this claim. Another theory suggests that Hoffa was ended by his close associate Frank Sheeran. Sheeran claimed in his memoir, I Heard You Paint Houses, that he picked up Hoffa, took him to a house in Detroit, and shot him. Investigations into this theory found traces of blood in the house, but DNA tests did not match Hoffa's blood type, which is disturbing in and of itself. Some theories are more outlandish and based heavily on rumors. One suggests Hoffa was buried under the Giants Stadium in New Jersey, but this was debunked when no human remains were found during the stadium's demolition in 2010. Another bizarre theory is that Hoffa was killed and his body fed to alligators in the Florida Everglades. In 2022, the FBI conducted a search of a New Jersey landfill for a steel drum allegedly containing Hoffa's remains. The FBI indicated that nothing of value was discovered, and the case continues to remain as cold as ever. Connie Converse was born in August 1924 in Laconia, New Hampshire. She was an early American singer-songwriter whose music remained largely unrecognized during her lifetime. Connie grew up in a highly intellectual, stimulating environment, excelling academically and earning a scholarship to Mount Holyoke College. However, she dropped out after 2 years and moved to New York City to pursue a career in music and writing. In New York, she immersed herself in the bohemian culture of Greenwich Village, where she wrote songs, poems, and essays, and learned to play the guitar. In the 1950s, Connie recorded a series of songs in the apartment of animator Gene Dietsch. These recordings, characterized by their intimate and introspective lyrics, are considered some of the earliest examples of the singer-songwriter genre. Despite her talent, Connie struggled to find a wider audience. She appeared on CBS's morning show hosted by Walter Cronkite, but this exposure did not lead to the commercial success she hoped for. By 1961, disillusioned with her lack of musical success, Connie left New York and moved to Ann Arbor, Michigan. There, she took up a position as managing editor at the Journal of Conflict Resolution at the University of Michigan. She continued to write music, but shifted her focus towards other creative endeavors and activism. During this period, she wrote memos and essays on social issues, demonstrating her intellectual depth and commitment to social causes. In August 1974, shortly after her 50th birthday, Connie sent farewell letters to her family and friends, indicating that she was seeking a new start. She packed her belongings into her Volkswagen Beetle and left Ann Arbor, never to be heard from again. Her departure was planned, as evidenced by the letters she left behind, which included instructions for her personal affairs. The mystery surrounding Connie's disappearance has led to numerous theories. Some speculate that she chose to live a secluded life under a new identity. Others believe she might have faced personal crises that prompted her departure. Despite various efforts, including hiring a private investigator, her family never found any concrete leads on her whereabouts. Decades after her disappearance, Connie's music resurfaced. In 2004, her song One by One was played on WNYC, catching the attention of new listeners. This led to the 2009 release of an album featuring 17 of her songs that garnered critical acclaim and sparked renewed interest in her life and work. Despite having been virtually unknown for decades, her Spotify alone now boasts almost 100,000 listeners every month. The Ever-Burning Lamps. The concept of ever-burning lamps, or eternal flames, fascinates with its historical, religious, and cultural significance across the world. These flames, whether fueled by natural gas, oil, or maintained through human intervention, have been kindled for centuries and are found across various cultures and religions worldwide. Eternal flames serve multiple symbolic purposes. In many traditions, they represent an undying light, continuity, and memory of significant events or figures. Throughout history, writers from different regions have recorded the existence of ever-burning lamps. For example, the ancient writer Plutarch describes a lamp that continuously burned above the entrance to the Temple of Ammon in Egypt, unaffected by wind or rain. The role of eternal flames is perhaps most famously associated with one of the oldest religions in the world, Zoroastrianism. Fire holds a profound significance in Zoroastrianism, symbolizing purity, truth, and the divine presence of Ahura Mazda. As one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions, founded by the prophet Zoroaster in ancient Persia, Zoroastrianism venerates fire not as an object of worship, but as a sacred symbol representing light and wisdom. Fire is central to Zoroastrian rituals and temples, and all temples maintain a flame. These fire temples house an ever-burning flame meticulously maintained by priests. This eternal flame symbolizes the continuous presence of Ahura Mazda and the light of wisdom dispelling the darkness of ignorance and evil. In Judaism, an eternal light hangs in front of the Torah Ark in synagogues, symbolizing the menorah of the ancient temple in Jerusalem and the continuous divine presence. Numerous memorials around the world maintain eternal flames to honor those lost in conflicts, such as the well-known John F. Kennedy Eternal Flame at Arlington National Cemetery. Eternal flames have also captivated attention due to their natural occurrences, where natural gas seeps ignite spontaneously. One such example is the Eternal Flame Falls in New York, where a small grotto emits natural gas that can be lit to produce a flame. This site, located within Chestnut Ridge Park, is not only a natural spectacle, but also a geological anomaly, emitting propane and propane accessories in unusual quantities. All that said, why the concept of eternal flames appeals to humanity as a whole remains subject to competing theories and speculation. Artemis Ogletree and the Room 1046 Mystery. On January 2, 1935, a man identifying himself as Roland T. Owen checked into the Hotel President in Kansas City, Missouri. This man, later revealed to be 17-year-old Artemis Ogletree, arrived with no luggage and only carried basic toiletries. His stay in room 1046 would soon become the center of one of the most perplexing mysteries. Artemis was a young man from Birmingham, Alabama, who had left home to travel the country. His real identity remained a secret even after his demise, as he used various aliases like Eugene K. Scott and Cecil Werner during his travels. During his stay at the Hotel President, the hotel's staff noted his unusual behavior. The maid, Mary Soptic, who cleaned his room daily, described the room as consistently dark with drawn shades. On multiple occasions, she overheard Artemis speaking to someone named Don and observed a worried demeanor. He requested that his room remain unlocked because he was expecting a guest. The events of January 3rd and 4th, 1935, are particularly notable. That evening, a man resembling Artemis and with apparent injuries was seen by Robert Lane, a city worker. This individual, clad in only an undershirt and pants, flagged down Lane's car, mistaking it for a taxi. Lane observed that the man seemed to be hiding a wound on his arm. After a brief exchange, the man exited the vehicle at a nearby taxi stand. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, unusual activity was noted in room 1046. Guests and staff reported hearing loud arguing and strange noises coming from the room. Hotel operator Della Ferguson and bellboy Randolph Probst discovered that the room's phone was repeatedly off the hook. When Probst finally entered the room, he found Artemis in a disturbing state, bound and severely injured. Upon further examination, Artemis was found to have suffered injuries, including a fractured skull and multiple stab wounds. Despite these injuries, he was conscious when first discovered and claimed no one else was in the room. He was rushed to the hospital but succumbed to his injuries early on January 5, 1935. The investigation into Artemis Ogletree's demise unveiled a series of bizarre clues. The room had been stripped of many personal items, and the fingerprints found were inconclusive. Additionally, no identification was found with him, and his various aliases complicated the investigation. The case took another turn when, months later, the Melody McGilly Funeral Home received a mysterious call offering to pay for a proper burial for Roland T. Owen. By way of reminder, this is the name that Artemis Ogletree had used when he signed into the hotel. An envelope containing cash and a floral tribute arrived shortly after the mysterious call. The tribute was signed Love Forever, Louise, but the identities of those involved remained unknown. In 1936, a significant breakthrough occurred when Ruby Ogletree, Artemis's mother, identified him after seeing a photograph in a magazine. She had previously received typed letters purportedly from her son, which were suspicious as Artemis did not know how to type. These letters, followed by a strange phone call from a man claiming to have met Artemis in Egypt, added more layers to the mystery. Despite the identification, many questions remained unanswered. Who was Don, the man that Artemis was talking to? Why was Artemis using multiple identities? And of course, who paid for his funeral and sent the flowers? These unresolved questions have made the case the subject of speculation to this day. One prevalent theory suggests that Ogletree was involved with the criminal underworld. The mysterious phone calls, the secretive Don mentioned during his stay, and his evident fear indicate possible connections to illicit activities. Notably, some have speculated that Don was a title associated with a mafia figure rather than a personal name. It's speculated that Ogletree may have been involved in bootlegging or other illegal enterprises prevalent during the Prohibition era. This theory posits that Ogletree was targeted by criminal associates either due to a debt or a betrayal. Another theory revolves around a love triangle: the call to the funeral home arranging and paying for Ogletree's burial, along with the floral tribute hints at the involvement of a lover. According to some sources, the caller suggested that Ogletree had wronged a woman, leading to a violent confrontation in the hotel room. This theory is supported by the presence of female fingerprints in the room and the overheard arguments involving a female voice. Some theorists propose that Ogletree was engaged in espionage or other secretive work, which would explain his use of multiple aliases. However, there is no evidence to conclusively indicate this to be true. There is also speculation that Ogletree may have suffered from mental health issues, leading to paranoid behavior and his eventual death. This theory is less about external threats and more about internal turmoil that resulted in tragic circumstances. Notably, individuals suffering from mental health crises are substantially more likely to be the victims of violence. Despite the numerous investigations and the various leads followed over the decades, the true story behind the Room 1046 mystery remains unknown. This is a recommendation from community members Marsh and Fluxrad, who both independently suggested this highly unusual case. Remember to leave your suggestions in the comments, or join the Discord to discuss your suggestions there. Jimmy here, taking a brief second to promote myself and my work. Remember to like and subscribe and check out the Patreon or YouTube membership to support the channel further. Follow me on my new Instagram and TikTok pages. The links are in the description and my bio. Also get my lazy chill lo-fi beats on Spotify, YouTube Music, or Apple Music, and consider using them in your Instagram Reels, Shorts, or TikToks. The Frozen Woman of Minnesota. The story of the Frozen Woman of Minnesota centers on Jean Hilliard, a 19-year-old from Langby, Minnesota. She experienced an extraordinary miraculous survival after becoming completely frozen on a frigid December night in 1980. The ordeal unfolded when her car skidded off a remote country road due to severe ice conditions. Unable to drive and dressed only in cowboy boots, a coat, and mittens in -22-degree Fahrenheit weather, she attempted to reach a friend's house for help, which was about 2 miles away. After Jean's strenuous attempt to reach safety, she collapsed just short of her destination at the home of Wally Nelson, her friend's father. She remained there throughout the night, and when Nelson discovered her the following morning, her body had apparently frozen solid, making it impossible to initially bend her limbs. In an effort to help, Nelson and a companion managed to place her diagonally in a car and rush her to the nearest hospital in Fosston, Minnesota. Upon arrival at the hospital, the medical staff faced immense challenges. Jean's body temperature was so low it failed to register on a human-designated thermometer, and her skin was so solid that needles broke upon contact. Despite these daunting signs, the staff used heating pads to gradually warm her body, clinging to a faint hope as they detected a minimal pulse of only 12 beats per minute. Remarkably, several hours later, Jean began to respond, regaining consciousness and the ability to speak by noon. Her recovery was so profound that by the afternoon, she seemed to have returned to her normal self, largely unaware of the severity of her situation the night before. Jean Hilliard's survival became a national sensation, discussed widely in the media and among medical professionals. The medical community was particularly intrigued by how someone could recover so fully after being frozen, attributing it to the body's ability to enter a state similar to hibernation. This condition can sometimes support revival if the body is warmed at an appropriate rate, a phenomenon later supported by other medical experts in similar cases. After her miraculous recovery, Hilliard continued to lead an everyday life, seemingly unaffected by the severe hypothermia. Maneki Neko, the beckoning cats of Japan. The beckoning cat, or Maneki Neko, is a well-known symbol of good luck and fortune in Japan and now worldwide. Often found in the entrances of shops and homes, these statues depict a cat with one paw raised in a beckoning gesture. The origins of Maneki Neko are mysterious. One of the most popular stories dates back to the Edo period and involves a poor temple monk and his cat at Gotokuji Temple in Tokyo. The tale goes that a feudal lord sought shelter under a tree near the temple during a storm. He noticed a cat that seemed to beckon him into the temple. Shortly after he followed the cat, lightning struck the tree where he had been standing. Grateful for the cat's intervention, the lord became a benefactor of the temple, and in honor of the cat, the Maneki Neko was created. Another story involves an impoverished old woman living near Imado Shrine, also in Tokyo. She was forced to part with her beloved cat due to her dire financial situation. The cat later appeared to her in a dream, instructing her to create its image in clay. She did so, and the figurines became so popular that she was able to rise out of poverty. Maneki Neko come in various colors, each with its own meaning. The most common white cat is believed to bring general good luck and happiness. Gold cats are said to attract wealth and prosperity, while black ones ward off evil spirits. Red cats are thought to provide protection from illness, and green cats are believed to bring academic success. The position of the cat's paw also holds significance. A cat with its left paw raised is thought to attract customers and people, making it a common sight in businesses. Conversely, a cat with its right paw raised is believed to bring good luck and wealth. Some statues even feature both paws raised, although this is less common as it is seen as somewhat overzealous. Gotokuji Temple, often cited as the birthplace of Maneki Neko, has become a pilgrimage site for those who wish to offer their gratitude or seek good fortune. Visitors to the temple leave small Maneki Neko statues as offerings, creating a vast collection of these lucky charms on the temple grounds. The spread of Maneki Neko beyond Japan is also notable. While some believe the Maneki Neko is originally Chinese, given the generally one-sided nature of the cultural exchange between Japan and China until the 20th century. This isn't true. The Maneki Neko arrived in China around the mid-19th century, once Japan opened to world trade. From there, the Maneki Neko traveled with Chinese immigrants to Chinatowns worldwide, and in some areas the association with Chinese culture is so strong they are called Chinese lucky cats. The Banco Central burglary took place in Fortaleza, Brazil, in August 2005. It is a heavily fortified bank with an underground vault containing large amounts of Brazilian and foreign currency. The burglars, led by Antonio Yusivan Alves dos Reis, spent months preparing for this operation. They rented a commercial property near the bank under the guise of a landscaping business, which allowed them to excavate without raising suspicion. Over 3 months, they dug a 250-foot-long tunnel equipped with lighting and air conditioning systems, stretching beneath 2 city blocks and culminating directly under the bank's vault. On the weekend of August 6, 2005, the gang broke through approximately 3.5 feet of reinforced concrete to access the vault. They removed and transported 5 containers filled with the equivalent of $70 million American at the time. The bills were not sequentially numbered, complicating efforts to trace them. The robbers left behind a few clues, including tools and a prepaid phone card, which later helped in tracking down some of the suspects. The immediate aftermath of the heist baffled authorities. The gang's sophisticated tunneling operation and the sheer scale of the theft drew global attention. Despite their initial success, the group's fortunes began to falter. A series of arrests were made, starting with 5 men captured in September 2005 with over $5 million in cash. However, 18 suspects remained at large, and a significant portion of the stolen money was never recovered. One of the masterminds, Luis Fernando Ribeiro, met a grisly fate shortly after the heist. He was found shot dead on an isolated road, raising suspicions of internal betrayal or external threats from other criminal entities. Several theories have emerged regarding the unsolved aspects of the heist. Some suggest involvement from inside the bank due to the precise nature of the tunnel's endpoint. Others speculate about possible connections with organized crime syndicates in Brazil or abroad. The catacombs of Paris are a sprawling underground ossuary located beneath the French capital. An ossuary is a site or receptacle for the storage of human skeletal remains. These can be anything from a box, a well, a room, or even a building specifically designed to serve as the final resting place for human bones. The use of ossuaries is often linked to practices where space for burials is limited, or there is a need to reuse graves. Originally, the catacombs were not intended for human remains, but were part of the extensive limestone quarries mined to build Paris. However, by the late 18th century, Paris faced a crisis due to its overflowing cemeteries, particularly the Cemetery of the Innocents in the heart of the city. The cemetery was closed in 1780 after a series of incidents, including a basement wall collapse under the weight of a mass grave, which exacerbated the public health risk. In a bid to eliminate the hazard of overused cemeteries and to manage the city's dead more efficiently, it was decided to repurpose the abandoned quarries beneath Paris. In 1786, the transfer of bones began and was completed in 1788, transforming the catacombs into a burial site. This move addressed both the public health issue and the practical problems posed by the previously uncharted and structurally unsound quarries underneath the city. The catacombs stretch over 200 miles, though only a small portion is open to the public. They house the remains of approximately 6 million Parisians. The walls of these underground passages are lined with bones and skulls, arranged in a macabre display of high stacks. This arrangement was not merely functional, but was also meant to be a thoughtful memento mori. a reminder of the inevitability and impartiality of mortality. Mysteries and stories about the catacombs abound. They have been the subject of numerous legends and have inspired various fictional accounts. One of the most enduring tales is that of Philibert Aspert, who reportedly went missing in the catacombs in 1793 and whose body was discovered 11 years later, close to an exit. His cause and time of demise remain a subject of speculation. Notably, despite the popularity of catacomb exploration, he is the only individual who is ever confirmed to have died in the catacombs. Over the years, the Doggo Combs have attracted both casual visitors and intense enthusiasts who illegally explore the unmapped sections of this underground world. These urban explorers often seek out the less frequented corners of the network, adding to the mystique and allure of the catacombs. The Kaluppiluit, also known as Kalupalik, is a creature from Inuit folklore. These beings are often described as aquatic humanoids with green, slimy skin, long hair, and claw-like fingernails. They are notorious in Inuit mythology for their role as child snatchers, living beneath the icy waters of the Arctic and preying on unsuspecting children who wander too close to the water's edge. The Kaluppiluit are believed to inhabit the waters beneath thin ice and are especially active when the ice begins to break in the spring. They are said to attract children with an eerie humming sound. When a child comes close to investigate the noise, the Kaluppiluit seizes the opportunity to snatch them, stuffing them into its amauti, a traditional Inuit parka. This legend serves a practical purpose in Inuit culture, acting as a cautionary tale to keep children away from the dangerous ice flows in open water. By instilling a fear of the Kaluppiluit, parents encourage their children to stay away from hazardous areas, thereby protecting them from real dangers like drowning. The physical appearance of the Kaluppiluit varies slightly among different tales, but they are consistently described as terrifying and monstrous. They are humanoid, but have distinct aquatic features, such as scales and webbed hands, enhancing their ability to thrive in the icy waters. Some stories also describe them emitting a foul odor, often compared to the smell of sulfur, adding to their fearsome reputation. Stories about the Kaluppiluit have been passed down through generations and remain an integral part of Inuit culture. These tales are often shared during storytelling sessions, particularly in the long winter months when families gather indoors. Despite the frightening nature of the Kaluppiluit, some stories offer a more nuanced view. In some versions, the Kaluppiluit is depicted as a creature unable to have children of its own, thus it kidnaps children to raise as its own. This aspect of the legend adds a layer of tragic complexity to the creature's character, likely developed across generations. This was a suggestion by Discord community member Faust. The Sea Silk Seamstresses of Sardinia. The Sea Silk Seamstresses of Sardinia are the keepers of an ancient tradition that is now at risk of disappearing. Sea silk, or byssus, is a rare and valuable fabric made from the filaments of the noble pen shell. This art has been practiced for over 1,000 years, predominantly on the island of Sant'Antioco near Sardinia, where it has been passed down through generations of women. The process of making sea silk is extremely intricate and time-consuming. Harvesting the byssus requires diving into the Mediterranean Sea to collect filaments. The seamstresses would dive to collect the threads during certain phases of the moon, believing this timing affected the quality and quantity of the silk. These filaments are then cleaned, desalted, and painstakingly separated into individual threads. The threads are so fine that they are 3 times thinner than human hair and must be handled with the utmost care using tools such as magnifying glasses and tweezers. After the threads are prepared, they are dyed using natural substances, often following secret family techniques involving lemon, spices, and various types of algae. The dyeing process imparts a golden sheen to the silk, which shimmers in the light, making it highly prized and often compared to gold itself. The seamstresses of Sardinia turned these threads into exquisite garments, like gloves, hats, and ceremonial robes, showcasing unparalleled skill and artistry. Historical references to sea silk date back to ancient times. It was used in various cultures for making luxurious garments, and was mentioned in texts by Aristotle and Pliny the Elder. The fabric was so valuable that it was often reserved for royalty and high-ranking officials. In modern times, it has become a symbol of cultural heritage and a link to the past, with pieces of sea silk being preserved in museums across Europe. Today, it is believed that only a handful of practitioners remain. The decline in the craft is attributed to several factors. Ecological changes in the Mediterranean have threatened the continuation of sea silk production. Further, the strict traditions surrounding its transmission, limited to certain families and often kept secret from the wider community, have also hindered its propagation. Funayure, translating to ship ghosts or boat spirits, are vengeful spirits found in Japanese folklore. These apparitions are believed to be the souls of those who perished at sea, often sailors who drowned or were lost in shipwrecks. The legends of Funayure are deeply rooted in Japanese culture, with numerous tales and sightings reported over centuries. The Funayure are typically depicted as ghostly figures appearing on misty nights or during storms, embodying the souls of drowned sailors. These spirits are often seen as vengeful, attempting to drag the living into the watery depths to share their fate. A common feature in these stories is the Funayure's request for a hishaku, a ladle used for bailing water. If given an intact ladle, they use it to fill the boat with water, causing it to sink. The only way to escape their wrath is by offering a ladle with a hole in it, ensuring they cannot bail water into the boat. Historical records and folklore offer various accounts of Funayure encounters. In the Edo period, intellectuals discussed these spirits appearing as fireballs or ghostly apparitions at sea. They linked these sightings to ancient Chinese beliefs, suggesting that they were manifestations of lingering, resentful spirits. One of the more modern examples of Funayure activity comes from the Toya Maru disaster in 1954, the largest maritime accident in Japan post-World War II. Survivors reported seeing strange marks on the propellers of the rescue ships, believed to be claw marks left by Funayure. There were also eerie reports from Nanaihama, Hokkaido, of a soaking wet woman who would disappear after reaching her taxi destination, thought to be a victim of the Toya Maru accident. Belief in these ghosts has waned over the years as fewer and fewer in Japanese society make their livings as sailors or fishermen. However, belief in the Funayure remains deeply ingrained in society. Ettore Majorana, born on August 5, 1906 in Catania, Sicily, was a pioneering physicist whose work pushed the boundaries of quantum physics and the understanding of atomic structures. Despite his short career, Majorana made significant contributions to the field of nuclear physics, including the development of the Majorana equation and predictions regarding neutrinos. Majorana's academic journey began at the University of Rome, where he shifted from engineering to physics, inspired by physicists like Enrico Fermi. His intellectual prowess was evident early on, leading to his invitation to join Fermi's group of talented young physicists. For those who are unaware, Fermi was one of the leading physicists of the 20th century and also heavily involved in the Manhattan Project. Despite publishing only a handful of papers, Majorana's theories and calculations were groundbreaking, influencing areas ranging from elementary particle physics to condensed matter. In 1938, at the height of his career, he was appointed a full professor of theoretical physics at the University of Naples, without the usual required examinations. This was considered a testament to his extremely exceptional expertise and abilities. However, shortly after accepting a prestigious professorship in Naples, Majorana withdrew all his money and boarded a ship from Naples to Palermo on March 25, 1938. He purchased a return ticket, but never boarded the return trip. Shortly thereafter, he sent a cryptic telegram to his family, indicating he was abandoning his trip and returning to Naples. This was followed by a letter to his colleague at the Naples Physics Institute, stating he was abandoning everything to find a solution to his problems. His sudden disappearance sparked decades of mystery and speculation. Theories about Majorana's disappearance are varied and have continued to intrigue both the public and the scientific community. One theory suggests that Majorana chose to disappear voluntarily, possibly overwhelmed by the pressures of his career or desiring to live a more secluded life. Some have suggested that he potentially even went to live in a monastery, reflecting his deep personal religious views. This speculation is supported by his background in a devout Catholic family and his known personal struggles with what he saw as conflicts between science and religion. Another hypothesis proposes that Majorana might have emigrated to Argentina or Venezuela, starting a new life under a different identity. This theory gained traction in 2011 when Italian authorities investigated a photograph from 1955 showing a man in Argentina who bore a striking resemblance to Majorana. Other more dramatic theories have speculated on the possibility of abduction, given Majorana's deep knowledge of atomic physics. Another theory suggests that Majorana gave up everything to become a traveling beggar, inspired by a religious breakthrough. However, none of these theories have been definitively proven, and Majorana's fate remains one of the great unsolved mysteries in the world of science. Over the years, numerous investigations have been conducted, including by the Italian police and private researchers. None have conclusively solved the mystery of Majorana's fate. In 2011, the Rome Attorney's Office reopened the case following new leads, but no definitive conclusion was reached. The Guaira Falls disappearance. The disappearance of the Guaira Falls, once one of the most spectacular natural wonders in South America, and perhaps the world, is a virtually unknown ecological tragedy. Nestled on the Parana River along the Brazil-Paraguay border, the Guaira Falls were a marvel of nature that were significantly larger and more powerful than Niagara Falls. However, unlike other natural monuments that are preserved and protected, the Guaira Falls ceased to exist in 1982 due to human intervention. The Guaira Falls was not just a singular waterfall, but a series of 18 massive water cascades. Prior to their disappearance, they were among the most voluminous waterfalls in the world, with an estimated flow of around 13,000 cubic meters per second, nearly twice that of Niagara Falls. These falls held significant cultural importance for the Guarani indigenous people, symbolizing a place of profound spiritual and traditional value. The construction of the Itaipu Dam, a large hydroelectric project, led to the submersion and eventual obliteration of the Guaira Falls that took a mere 14 days during the rainy season. This project was a joint venture between Brazil and Paraguay, aiming to harness the immense power of the Parana River. The decision to flood the Guaira Falls for the dam project sparked international outcry and a wave of local and global protests. Environmentalists, historians, and local communities lamented the loss of a natural treasure. Furthermore, the flooding displaced thousands of local residents and deeply affected the ecosystem surrounding the falls. Some people believe that the falls are still intact underneath the massive reservoir created by the Itaipu Dam, preserved as if in a time capsule. This theory holds an optimistic allure, suggesting that perhaps one day, if circumstances change, the falls might be revealed once again. Experts argue that the powerful currents and sediment would have eroded and altered the rock formations that comprise the falls, likely leaving little of the original structures. Whether the falls would re-emerge intact if the dam was destroyed remains a mystery. The Shichinin Misaki, translating to seven spirits, is a group of seven vengeful ghosts deeply rooted in Japanese folklore. Predominantly encountered in the Shikoku and Chugoku regions, these spirits are renowned for bringing disaster upon anyone who crosses their path. They are often seen near bodies of water such as rivers and seashores. The legend of Shichinin Misaki varies across regions. One prominent version involves the vengeful spirits of seven warriors. During the Sengoku period, Kira Chikazane, a military commander in Tosa Province, modern-day Kochi Prefecture, was forced to do the forbidden thing due to a family feud over succession. Several of his vassals also committed this act on themselves in solidarity. After their deaths, strange occurrences were reported at their graves, and these vengeful spirits became known as Shichinin Misaki. Despite efforts to pacify them, the spirits continued to haunt the area. Another tale from Mihara in Hiroshima Prefecture tells of seven brutal mountain priests whose vengeful spirits became Shichinin Misaki after they were killed by the villagers they tormented. Similarly, in Yamaguchi Prefecture, it is said that Shichinin Misaki appear as monks and kidnap children, leading to local warnings for girls not to venture outside after dark. The Shichinin Misaki are also associated with maritime folklore. They are sometimes depicted as funayure, or ship ghosts, haunting seafarers and fishermen. According to legend, these spirits can be warded off by throwing cooking ashes from a boat. In contemporary urban legends, the Shibuya Shichinin Misaki recounts the story of seven high school girls in Tokyo who died under mysterious circumstances in the late 1990s. This was a suggestion from Discord community member Guy 2, who often has excellent Japan-related suggestions. In October 2017, astronomers were taken by surprise when they detected Oumuamua, the first known interstellar object to visit the solar system. This unusual visitor was first spotted by a telescope in Hawaii and immediately garnered worldwide attention due to its origins from outside our solar system. The object was traveling at a staggering speed of almost 200,000 miles per hour, which indicated it wasn't gravitationally bound to the sun, but was instead passing through. Oumuamua displayed some perplexing characteristics that led to intense scrutiny and various theories about its nature and origin. For one, it appeared elongated and highly asymmetrical, suggesting an unusual shape compared to typical asteroids and comets within the solar system. Its brightness varied dramatically, hinting at its elongated, cigar-like shape, possibly about 10 times as long as it is wide. One of the most mystifying aspects of Oumuamua was its acceleration as it passed through the solar system. Instead of simply following a gravitational trajectory dictated by the sun and planets, it exhibited a non-gravitational acceleration. This was attributed to outgassing, a process common in comets where ice turns into gas and jets away, pushing the comet in the opposite direction. Intriguingly, Oumuamua showed no visual signs of this outgassing, such as a comet-like tail. The acceleration suggested a slight push from the jetting of gaseous material not visible in the images captured by telescopes. Despite extensive observations, the exact composition of Oumuamua remains unknown. However, its reddish hue and density suggest a composition of rock and possibly metals, with no water or ice. Oumuamua's visit opened up new scientific frontiers, confirming that interstellar objects can and do enter our solar system. It challenged existing theories and prompted a re-evaluation of our understanding of cosmic objects. The object's trajectory confirmed that it would not return, continuing its journey through the galaxy after its brief and mysterious visit. The theories around Oumuamua are as varied as they are speculative, ranging from it being a simple asteroid to more exotic speculations about it being an alien probe. Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb proposed that Oumuamua's shape, high reflectivity, and acceleration patterns suggested it could be a light sail, an advanced propulsion technology potentially utilized by extraterrestrial civilizations. This hypothesis generated significant excitement and controversy within the scientific community, as many other experts considered the idea far-fetched. Nonetheless, Loeb's claims brought attention to the need for open-mindedness in scientific exploration and the possibility of interstellar objects having artificial origins. Anneliese Michel was born on September 21, 1952, in Klingenberg, Bavaria, Germany. Anneliese was raised in an extremely devout and traditional Catholic family. Her early life was marked by health issues, and at the age of 16, she experienced her first seizure. She was diagnosed with temporal lobe epilepsy, a condition that can cause seizures, memory loss, and hallucinations. Despite her medical treatment, including the use of antipsychotic drugs, her condition did not improve and even seemed to worsen over time. By the early 1970s, Anneliese began to display increasingly disturbing behavior. She described seeing devil faces and hearing voices that told her she was damned and would rot in hell. These symptoms, coupled with her growing aversion to religious objects, led her family to believe that she was possessed by a demon. Her family sought the help of the Catholic Church for an exorcism. Initially, their requests were denied, and Anneliese was advised to continue medical treatment. However, as her condition deteriorated, her family found two priests, Father Arnold Renz and Father Ernst Alt, who agreed to perform the exorcism rites. In 1975, the Bishop of Würzburg, Josef Stangl, approved the exorcism, which was to be conducted in strict secrecy. From September 1975 to June 1976, Anneliese underwent more than 60 exorcism sessions. These sessions were grueling, often lasting up to 4 hours, and taking place 1 to 2 times a week. During these sessions, Anneliese would frequently exhibit violent behaviors, speak in different voices, and show extraordinary strength, often requiring physical restraint. Throughout this period, Anneliese's physical condition severely deteriorated. She stopped eating, leading to severe malnutrition. By the time of her final exorcism session on June 30th, 1976, she weighed only 68 pounds and was suffering from broken knees and other broken bones. Anneliese Michel passed away on July 1st, 1976, in her home. The aftermath of Anneliese's passing was a highly publicized court case. Her parents and the two priests were charged with her negligent death. During the trial, the defense argued that Anneliese's actions and death were a result of demonic possession, using recordings from the exorcism sessions as evidence. However, the court found the parents and priests guilty of manslaughter resulting from negligence, sentencing them to 6 months in prison, which was later suspended. They later received probation. The parents were not punished further as the court deemed that they had suffered enough. The case of Anneliese Michel has since sparked significant debate and analysis. Many see it as a tragic example of the clash between modern medicine and religious beliefs. While some firmly believe in the possibility of demonic possession, others argue that Anneliese's condition was a severe case of mental illness. Her story inspired the 2005 film The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which brought even more attention to her life and the events leading to her passing. The film, while dramatized, reflects many aspects of Anneliese's experiences and the complex interplay of faith and mental illness. The Shakespeare authorship question challenges the traditional belief that William Shakespeare of Stratford-upon-Avon penned the works attributed to him. This debate spans centuries and includes numerous theories about who the true author might be. The first doubts about Shakespeare's authorship emerged in the late 18th century. By the mid-19th century, prominent figures suggested that Sir Francis Bacon, the philosopher and scientist, was the actual author. This idea was based on perceived parallels between Bacon's known works and Shakespeare's plays and poems. Another notable candidate is Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford. The Oxfordian theory, first proposed by J. Thomas Looney in 1920, argues that de Vere had the requisite education, courtly experience, and literary talent. Supporters highlight de Vere's familiarity with the aristocratic lifestyle depicted in Shakespeare's works and point to parallels between events in de Vere's life. Christopher Marlowe, a contemporary playwright, is also a candidate. Proponents of the Marlovian theory suggest that Marlowe faked his death in 1593 to avoid political persecution and continued to write under the pseudonym William Shakespeare. This theory leverages stylistic similarities between Marlowe's and Shakespeare's works. Some theorists even propose that Shakespeare's works were written by a group of writers rather than a single individual. This collaborative theory points to the diverse knowledge base required to write the Shakespearean canon. Supporters argue that Shakespeare's works, which spans a vast array of subjects from law and medicine to classical literature and foreign languages, is too much for one person. Despite the allure of these theories, the majority of academic scholars maintain that William Shakespeare of Stratford-upon-Avon is the true author. They rely on documentary evidence such as title page attributions, government records, and testimony from Shakespeare's contemporaries. Additionally, stylometric studies, which analyze linguistic patterns, support the traditional attribution. William Shakespeare remains the most likely author of the works attributed to him, but significant questions remain. The death of Thomas C. Wales. On October 11, 2001, Thomas C. Wales, a federal prosecutor based in Seattle, Washington, was targeted. As he worked on his computer in the basement of his home, a perpetrator fired several shots through a window, hitting him. Despite efforts to save him, he passed away the following day. Thomas C. Wales had a distinguished career. Born in 1952, he grew up in Southborough, Massachusetts, and was an alumnus of Harvard and Hofstra Law School. In 1983, he became an assistant U.S. attorney in Seattle, specializing in fraud prosecutions. Beyond his professional life, he was deeply involved in civic activities, including serving as president of a local gun safety group. The investigation into this incident has been extensive but fraught with challenges. Initial evidence pointed to a Makarov pistol with a replacement barrel as the weapon used. This type of pistol left distinctive marks on the bullets, leading the FBI to a painstaking search for the barrel's origins. Approximately 2,600 such barrels were sold, complicating the investigation. One primary suspect emerged early in the investigation, an airline pilot from Bellevue who had been prosecuted by Wales. This individual was known to have a strong interest in firearms and had previously clashed with Wales over his gun control advocacy. Although the FBI conducted thorough searches of the pilot's residence, including seizing 27 boxes of potential evidence, no charges were brought against him. In 2018, the FBI suggested that Wales might have been targeted by a professional hit, orchestrated by a small group. This theory added a new layer of complexity, suggesting a more elaborate conspiracy rather than a lone perpetrator. Despite these leads, the case remains unresolved, with the FBI continuing to seek public assistance and offering a substantial reward for information. The FBI has recently increased the reward for information, leading to an arrest to $2.5 million, reflecting the high priority still placed on this case. Erfurt latrine disaster. In the late 12th century, the Holy Roman Empire was riddled with political strife, with conflicts often erupting between feudal lords and religious leaders. One such dispute was between Archbishop Conrad of Mainz and Landgrave Louis III of Thuringia. The feud was significant enough that Emperor Henry VI, traveling through the region, decided to mediate. To resolve the conflict, he called for a Hoftag, or informal assembly, at the cathedral in Erfurt on July 26, 1184. On the day of the assembly, nobles from across the Holy Roman Empire gathered in a second-story hall of the Petersburg citadel. According to traditional tellings, the aging wooden floor could not support the weight of the assembled crowd. Just as discussions began, the floor collapsed, sending around 100 attendees plunging into the cesspit below. The disaster resulted in the loss of around 60 to 100 nobles. Those who fell through were either drowned in the liquid waste or suffocated from the noxious fumes. Emperor Henry and Archbishop Conrad of Mainz survived by sheer luck. The emperor was positioned in a stone alcove at the time of the collapse, which allowed him to cling to iron railings until he was rescued with ladders. The Erfurt latrine disaster highlights the inadequacies of medieval sanitation systems. Latrines of the time were often simple pits or holes in the ground, sometimes connected to external walls to allow for natural drainage. However, these cesspits were rarely cleaned, leading to significant buildup of waste and hazardous gases. The Petersburg Citadel's latrine, directly beneath the meeting hall, had accumulated a large amount of waste. Combined with the decrepit condition of the building, this created a perfect storm for disaster when the floor gave way. The upsweep. The upsweep is one of the most intriguing and mysterious sounds recorded in the ocean. It was first detected in August 1991 by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. The sound is characterized by a long train of narrow-band, upsweeping sounds, each lasting several seconds. The source of this sound has been located in the Pacific Ocean, around 2,500 miles west of the southern tip of South America, near the Antarctic. The upsweep was first identified using the Sound Surveillance System, SOSUS, a network of underwater microphones originally designed for submarine detection. This system allowed scientists to pick up various unexplained oceanic noises, among which the upsweep stood out due to its characteristics and persistence over the years. Interestingly, the intensity of the upsweep varies with the seasons, peaking during spring and fall. Despite being monitored for decades, the precise origin of the upsweep remains unidentified. Initially, some scientists speculated that it might be biological, possibly produced by large marine animals like whales. However, the lack of variation in the sound's frequency made this unlikely. The most plausible theory suggests that the upsweep is linked to underwater volcanic activity. Researchers Émile Aucal and Jacques Talandier proposed that the sound could be caused by the interaction between seawater and volcanic gases. Supporting this theory, a French research vessel found volcanic seamounts in the region where the upsweep is most prominent. However, its mysterious nature has led to numerous speculative stories, including ideas about undiscovered marine creatures or even secret underwater human activities. Others have speculated that the sound have something to do with underwater alien bases. Research into the upsweep continues as scientists use advanced technologies and methodologies to pinpoint its source more accurately. The continuous decline in the sound's intensity over the years adds another layer of mystery, suggesting that the conditions creating the upsweep might be changing. The Shigir Idol. The Shigir Idol, the world's oldest known wooden sculpture, was discovered in 1890 by gold miners in a peat bog in the Ural Mountains of Russia. The idol dates back approximately 12,000 years, making it more than twice as old as the Egyptian pyramids and significantly older than Stonehenge. Carved from the trunk of a larch tree, the Shigir idol stands at about 17 feet tall and features a series of geometric motifs. These carvings were made using stone tools, and later research identified the use of beaver mandibles as carving tools. The tree itself was at least 150 years old when it was felled. The idol's preservation is a stroke of luck, attributed to the unique conditions of the peat bog, which is acidic, anaerobic, and antimicrobial, thus preventing decay. This environment has allowed the Shigir idol to provide a rare glimpse into Mesolithic art and culture. The Shigir idol's surface is decorated with a variety of geometric patterns, including zigzag lines, horizontal lines, and depictions of human faces and hands. These carvings are not merely decorative, but are believed to hold significant meaning. Scholars propose various theories regarding their purpose. Some suggest that the patterns represent a creation myth, navigational aids, or even a map. Others speculate that the idol might have served as a totem pole, possibly representing a hierarchy within the society that created it. Further adding to its mystery, the idol has 7 faces carved along its length. These faces may indicate different spirits or deities, or they could represent a narrative or a sequence of events important to the creators. The exact meaning of these carvings remains unclear, and interpretations vary widely among researchers. It suggests that complex symbolic behavior and artistic expression existed among hunter-gatherer societies much earlier than previously thought. The Shigir idol has been linked to other ancient artifacts and sites, such as Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, which is known for its monumental stone structures. The similarities in geometric motifs between these sites suggest a broader, possibly interconnected prehistoric culture that spanned large regions. Today, the Shigir idol is housed in the Sverdlovsk Regional Museum of Local Lore in Yekaterinburg, Russia, where it remains a subject of ongoing research. The disappearance of Asha Kreimer. Asha Kreimer, a 26-year-old dual citizen of the US and Australia, vanished on September 21, 2015, in Point Arena, California. Asha was living in Albion, California, with her boyfriend, Jamai Gale, when she experienced a severe mental health crisis. Prior to her disappearance, Asha had no history of mental illness, but she suddenly began exhibiting erratic behavior, including staying awake for days and speaking incoherently. She was taken to Mendocino Coast District Hospital, but was released without a comprehensive evaluation. On the morning of her disappearance, Asha, her boyfriend, and a friend stopped at the Rollerville Cafe in Point Arena. Asha went to the restroom and never returned. She was last seen barefoot and without any personal belongings such as money, identification, or her cell phone. Her jacket was later found near the Point Arena Lighthouse Trail, but extensive searches yielded no further clues. Her boyfriend reported that she had been experiencing delusions and paranoia. On the morning she disappeared, Asha was reportedly seen acting confused and trying to enter a neighbor's trailer. She also made alarming claims about her boyfriend and her past. One theory suggests she might have walked into the ocean, considering the proximity of the cafe to the coast. However, no evidence supports this scenario. There have also been unconfirmed sightings of Asha in various locations, including a report of her being seen getting into an older model car. The Mendocino County Sheriff's Office conducted a thorough investigation, but found no concrete leads. They have not identified any suspects, including her boyfriend, who has been cooperative with the authorities. Asha's mother has been a persistent advocate for her daughter, traveling between Australia and California to seek new information. Despite her efforts, the case remains unsolved, with few new leads. If you have any information regarding her case, please contact the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office. The Life and Times of Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla, one of history's most fascinating inventors, remains a subject of intrigue due to his groundbreaking inventions, mysterious theories, and enigmatic personality. Born on July 10, 1856, in what was then the Austrian Empire, Tesla's early life was marked by his extraordinary intellectual capabilities and photographic memory. Tesla's contributions to science and technology are numerous and significant. He is best known for developing the alternating current electrical system, which revolutionized the way electricity is delivered to homes and businesses. Among the most intriguing aspects of Tesla's life are the mysteries and theories that surround his work and personal beliefs. One of these is his obsession with the numbers 3, 6, and 9. Tesla believed these numbers held the key to understanding the universe. He incorporated these numbers into his daily life and work routines, performing tasks in multiples of 3. Tesla's fascination with wireless power transmission led him to build the Wardenclyffe Tower. This was an ambitious project intended to demonstrate the transmission of electrical power without wires. Despite his grand vision, the project failed to secure ongoing financial support and was eventually dismantled. This failure, however, has fueled numerous conspiracy theories about lost or suppressed technologies capable of providing free energy. Another compelling mystery is Tesla's supposed involvement in the Tunguska event of 1908. Some theorists suggest that Tesla's experiments with wireless energy transmission might have caused the massive explosion in Siberia. Tesla himself had claimed that his technology could transmit energy over vast distances, potentially with destructive force. Although this theory remains speculative, it underscores the public's interest in Tesla's capabilities. After Nikola Tesla's passing on January 7, 1943, the fate of his extensive collection of notes, blueprints, prototypes, and research documents became a subject of intense speculation and mystery. His collection is believed to contain many of his scientific ideas and unfinished projects, some of which were highly advanced for his time. Upon his death, Tesla's belongings were seized by the Office of Alien Property Custodian, a U.S. government office responsible for handling the property of foreign nationals during wartime. Despite Tesla being a U.S. citizen, his origins and eccentric lifestyle led to his files being taken under the pretense of national security. The immediate mystery centers on what exactly was contained in these confiscated files. Tesla had claimed to have developed numerous revolutionary technologies, including a death ray capable of unprecedented destructive power, wireless energy transmission, and other futuristic inventions. The potential military applications of such technologies likely sparked government interest. Despite numerous requests for transparency, many of Tesla's files remained classified for decades. Some documents were released, but the most intriguing and potentially game-changing papers were either lost, heavily redacted, or never declassified. This lack of transparency has fueled numerous conspiracy theories. Some suggest that the U.S. government retained the most sensitive information for military research, or that these files contain technology that could disrupt existing energy markets. Adding to the mystery, John G. Trump, a noted electrical engineer and the uncle of former President Donald Trump, was one of the scientists called upon to review Tesla's papers. In his report, Trump claimed that Tesla's notes did not contain any new or practical breakthroughs. However, given Tesla's reputation and the government's initial reaction, many have doubted the completeness and honesty of this assessment. Another theory comes from the numerous claims of lost or stolen Tesla documents. Over the years, there have been various allegations that key pieces of Tesla's work disappeared, either before or after the government seizure. These claims suggest that some of Tesla's most advanced ideas could be in the hands of private collectors or were destroyed to prevent them from becoming public. The Waterlion Cryptid. This was a suggestion by Discord community member Orc Lord Dave. Leave a suggestion in the comments or make suggestions in the Discord. The Waterlion Cryptid, known under various names such as jungle walrus, is a notable creature in African folklore, particularly in Central Africa. These cryptids are typically described as semi-aquatic, hairy creatures with prominent fangs or tusks, and a notable habit of attacking and killing large river animals like hippopotamuses. Sightings have been reported across the Central African Republic, southern Chad, and as far as Angola, Mali, and Kenya. In many reports, water lions are depicted as possessing saber-tooth-like fangs and being adept swimmers, capable of moving stealthily through the water to ambush prey. These features have led some to speculate that water lions could be a surviving species of prehistoric saber-toothed cats adapted to an aquatic lifestyle. This theory posits that the dense riverine environments of Central Africa provided a suitable habitat for these predators, allowing them to survive while other large predators went extinct. The folklore surrounding water lions also includes tales of their interactions with local populations. In some stories, these cryptids are revered or feared, believed to possess supernatural powers, or to be protectors of the waterways. Modern investigations into water lions often draw on both eyewitness accounts and historical records. Some researchers suggest that reported sightings could be attributed to misidentified known animals, such as large otters or crocodiles. However, the consistency in descriptions across different regions and time periods continues to intrigue cryptozoologists and enthusiasts. Lioness, often depicted as a mythical kingdom, is believed to have stretched from Land's End in Cornwall to the Isles of Scilly. It is said to have vanished beneath the sea in a single catastrophic night. The tales of Lyonesse are deeply rooted in Arthurian mythology. It is famously associated with Tristan, a knight of the Round Table and the hero of the romantic tragedy, Tristan and Isolde. According to legend, Lyonesse was a fertile and prosperous land, home to numerous towns and 140 churches. It was ultimately engulfed by the ocean, leaving only the Isles of Scilly as remnants. While the story of Lyonesse is often relegated to the realm of myth, some believe there may be a kernel of truth. Geological evidence indicates that sea levels rose significantly around 4,000 years ago, which could explain the numerous local legends of sunken lands in the area. Fishermen near the Isles of Scilly have reported finding remnants of man-made structures in their nets, fueling speculation about the reality of Lyonesse. The legend of Lyonesse has parallels in other Celtic myths, such as the Breton tale of the sunken city of Wise. Some suggest it is a folk memory of real historical events, such as the flooding of low-lying coastal areas due to rising sea levels at the end of the last ice age. This theory is supported by the presence of submerged forests and ancient human artifacts found in the region. Another interpretation ties Lyonesse to the broader tradition of sunken lands and cities, such as Atlantis. These stories may serve as cultural metaphors for lost golden ages, or as cautionary tales about the dangers of hubris and moral decay. The Great Molasses Flood. On January 15, 1919, Boston's North End experienced the Great Molasses Flood. A massive steel tank, owned by the United States Industrial Alcohol Company, containing 2.3 million gallons of molasses burst, unleashing a sticky wave that surged through the streets at an estimated speed of 35 miles per hour. Not so slow after all, are we molasses? But I digress. This event led to significant destruction, with buildings being knocked off their foundations and the elevated train track being severely damaged. The tank was 50 feet tall and 90 feet in diameter, designed to hold 2.5 million gallons of molasses. At around 12:30 p.m. on that fateful day, witnesses reported hearing a series of loud noises resembling gunfire as the tank's rivets popped. The steel structure then ripped open, releasing a massive wave of molasses. The initial wave was about 15 feet high and moved swiftly through the streets, devastating everything in its path. Buildings were crushed, and a portion of the elevated railway was destroyed. Rescue operations were immediate but incredibly challenging. The sticky molasses, now knee-deep in many areas, trapped victims and hindered rescue efforts. Boston Police, Red Cross, and military personnel all converged on the scene. Cadets from the USS Nantucket, a training ship docked nearby, were among the first responders, wading through the thick syrup to pull survivors to safety. The cleanup process was arduous and lengthy. Salt water from a fireboat was used to dissolve the molasses, but the sticky residue spread throughout the city on the shoes and clothing of rescue workers and sightseers. The cleanup required more than 8,000 man-hours and left parts of Boston coated in molasses for months. Several theories were proposed to explain the disaster. Initially, some speculated that fermentation within the tank caused an increase in pressure. Others suggested sabotage by anarchists, reflecting the tense political climate of the time. However, investigations pointed to shoddy construction as the primary cause. The tank was built with steel that was too brittle and thin, unable to withstand the internal pressure when filled to capacity. The disaster resulted in 21 fatalities and approximately 150 injuries. In the aftermath, over 100 lawsuits were filed against USIA, leading to one of the first class action suits in Massachusetts. After years of legal battles, the company was found liable and ordered to pay the equivalent of about $11 million today. This case set a precedent for corporate responsibility and regulation, and everyone lived happily ever after, and corporations respected the rights of people from then on. The disappearance of Georges Guynemer. Georges Guynemer, a renowned French fighter pilot of World War I, remains a figure shrouded in mystery due to his disappearance on September 11, 1917. Born on December 24, 1894 in Paris, Guynemer was the son of a wealthy family. Despite frail health during his youth, he developed a passion for mechanics and aviation early on. His persistence led him to join the French Air Service in 1914, where he quickly rose to prominence due to his exceptional flying skills and bravery. Guynemer's career as an ace pilot began in earnest in 1915 after completing his flight training. Guynemer's prowess in the air quickly became evident as he amassed numerous victories, earning him the status of an ace. His preferred aircraft, often dubbed Le Vieux Charles, became legendary alongside him. By the time of his disappearance, Guynemer had achieved 54 confirmed aerial victories, making him a national hero in France. On the fateful day of September 11, 1917, Guynemer took off in his Spad 13 for a mission over Belgium. Accompanied by another pilot, Jean Boson-Verduras, Guynemer engaged in combat with German aircraft. Boson-Verduras lost sight of him during the skirmish, and Guynemer never returned. The French War Department declared him missing in action on September 25, 1917. Various accounts emerged, including reports from a captured German pilot who claimed that Guynemer had been shot down and killed. Despite these reports, his body was never recovered, adding to the mystery surrounding his fate. One theory suggests that his aircraft was hit, and he was forced to land behind enemy lines, where he might have perished from his injuries. Another theory posits that he might have been captured by German forces, though no concrete evidence supports this. Further, most discount this theory given that the Germans would have been quite eager to announce the capture of a French national hero. Guynemer's disappearance had a profound impact on France. He was more than just a pilot. He was a symbol of French resilience and bravery amongst a war-weary population. Monuments and memorials were erected in his honor, ensuring that his legacy would endure even in the absence of evidence regarding his final moments. The death of Johnny Ringo. Johnny Ringo, a notable figure in the history of the American Wild West, is known for his involvement in the tumultuous events in Tombstone, Arizona. Ringo's background was fraught with violence and conflict. Born on May 3, 1850, he first gained notoriety during the Mason County War in Texas. His association with prominent outlaws and his participation in the Earp Vendetta ride marked him as a significant figure in the lore of the Wild West. Despite his reputation as a formidable gunfighter, Ringo's life was often described as melancholic, compounded by heavy drinking and bouts of despondency. On the day of his passing on July 14, 1882, Ringo was found seated under a tree with a gunshot wound to his head, his weapon still in his hand. The initial conclusion was self-infliction, supported by the coroner's inquest. However, the absence of powder burns and the presence of unusual details, such as his revolver cartridge belt being buckled upside down, have fueled alternative theories. Several individuals have been speculated to have been involved in Ringo's demise. Notably, Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday have been implicated, with stories suggesting they returned from Colorado to confront Ringo. However, records indicate that both men were elsewhere at the time, casting doubt on this theory. Another suspect, Buckskin Frank Leslie, allegedly confessed to a prison guard that he had taken Ringo's life, though this claim is unsupported. Ringo's final days were marked by increased isolation and heavy drinking. He was last seen alive by Deputy Billy Breckenridge, who noted Ringo's drunken state as he rode through the South Pass of the Dragoon Mountains. When Ringo's body was discovered, it was noted that he had wrapped his feet in strips of his undershirt, a sign of his desperate state. The Voronezh UFO Incident. On September 27, 1989, an unusual event allegedly took place in Voronezh, a city in the Soviet Union, involving what many claim to be a UFO sighting. This incident has since become one of the most famous UFO cases in Soviet history due to the level of official attention it received. The incident reportedly began when a group of children in Voronezh claimed to have seen a small ball in the sky, which quickly transformed into a disc and landed in Yuzhny Park. From this disc, witnesses described seeing a 9-foot-tall, three-eyed alien accompanied by a robot-like entity. This bizarre event was first reported by the Telegraph Agency of the Soviet Union, TASS, and quickly captured both national and international attention. According to various accounts, the alien exited the craft, used a device described as a pistol tube to freeze a bystander in place, and then abducted a 16-year-old boy. Witnesses included not only children, but also some local civil servants who claimed to have seen the craft. The incident occurred during a period of heightened UFO sightings across Russia and the world, which added to the credibility for some and skepticism for others. Following the initial reports, the Soviet media and scientists took an unusual interest in the incident. The Soviet Scientific Commission launched an inquiry into the event, examining the landing site. They reported finding increased levels of the radioactive isotope cesium, though this finding was later downplayed by the vice-rector of the University of Voronezh. Notably, the New York Times reported on the incident, reflecting the global intrigue it sparked. However, skepticism was rampant, with some attributing the event to mass hysteria. Another theory suggests that the Voronezh UFO incident could have been an elaborate hoax. Given the period's heightened interest in UFOs and the Soviet Union's relative isolation from Western media, some believe that local pranksters might have staged the event to gain attention. This theory is supported by the lack of physical evidence and inconsistencies in witness testimonies. Another angle explores the psychological and socio-cultural factors at play. The late 1980s were a time of significant change and uncertainty in the Soviet Union, with the policies of glasnost, openness, and perestroika restructuring, transforming society. These factors, combined with increased exposure to Western science fiction and UFO lore, could have influenced the perceptions and reports of those involved. The story's similarities to Western UFO narratives suggest that cultural exchange might have played a role. The Thanksgiving Day Disaster. The Thanksgiving Day Disaster, also known as the Big Game Disaster, took place on November 29, 1900. It occurred during the annual football game between the University of California Golden Bears and the Stanford Cardinal, an event known as the Big Game. This incident remains the deadliest accident at a sporting event in U.S. history. On that fateful day, the game was held at the California League baseball grounds in San Francisco's Mission District. Nearby, the San Francisco and Pacific Glass Works had just opened a new factory building, which included a massive furnace filled with molten glass heated to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The game attracted a massive crowd of around 19,000 spectators. However, many more people who couldn't afford the $1 ticket gathered on the factory's roof to watch the game for free. Around 500 to 1,000 people crowded onto the factory's rooftop, which was not designed to hold such a weight. Despite efforts by factory workers to remove the spectators and alert the police, the crowd remained. Reports indicate that the factory workers tried to seek help from the police numerous times, but their pleas were dismissed or redirected without any effective action. Approximately 20 minutes after kickoff, the roof collapsed under the weight, sending scores of people plummeting 4 stories down into the factory. At least 100 people fell to the factory floor, and between 60 to 100 fell directly onto the furnace, where the temperature was around 500 degrees. Factory workers tried to rescue those who fell on the furnace using metal poles to push bodies away from the heat and attempting to shut off the oil feeding the flames. The incident resulted in 13 immediate fatalities, with the death toll rising to 23 as more succumbed to their injuries in the following days. Most victims were young boys and men from the local area, including the youngest victim, a 9-year-old boy. The response to the disaster was chaotic. With limited communication and a lack of immediate medical resources, the injured were transported to hospitals using anything available, from wagons to butcher carts. The media's response to the disaster also adds to the mystery. Newspapers at the time covered the event extensively, but there was a strange dichotomy in reporting. Sports sections continued to focus on the game itself, with little or no mention of the tragedy, while front pages covered the horrific details. This focus on the results of the game, which Stanford won, to the detriment of the mostly poor and downtrodden dead, disgusted large segments of society. Today, there are no physical memorials to commemorate the disaster, except for a cross at the grave of one 12-year-old victim. Shadow people, also known as shadow figures or black masses, are perceived as shadowy humanoid figures that have been reported across various cultures. The concept of shadow people is not new, and can be traced back to ancient folklore and religious texts. In many cultures, shadowy figures are associated with the supernatural. For instance, in ancient Egyptian mythology, shadow figures were considered part of a person's soul. Similarly, in Native American beliefs, shadow beings are seen as spiritual entities that exist in a state of balance between light and darkness. Shadow people are typically described as dark, human-like shapes. that appear at the periphery of one's vision or directly in front. They often lack discernible features, though some reports include glowing red eyes. These encounters frequently occur at night and are sometimes associated with feelings of intense fear and paralysis. People often report seeing these figures during episodes of sleep paralysis, a condition where one is temporarily unable to move or speak while falling asleep or upon waking. One of the most well-known types of shadow people is the Hat Man, a figure seen wearing a brimmed hat and sometimes a cloak. Sightings of the Hat Man are often reported in conjunction with sleep paralysis and have been documented since the early 2000s. Another common narrative involves shadow figures appearing in haunted locations. For example, at the Eastern State Penitentiary in Pennsylvania, numerous sightings of shadowy entities have been reported by both visitors and paranormal investigators. Many psychologists suggest that shadow people are hallucinations resulting from sleep paralysis. During this state, individuals are partially awake but still dreaming, leading to vivid and often frightening hallucinations. Some theorists propose that shadow people are the astral bodies of individuals who are experiencing out-of-body experiences. According to this theory, what people see are the ephemeral forms of these travelers from another realm. Another theory posits that shadow people are entities from parallel dimensions that occasionally intersect with our own. This idea is supported by the belief in multiple dimensions existing alongside our own, where beings might cross over and become visible as shadows. The dark and often malevolent nature of shadow people has led some to believe they are demonic entities. These figures are thought to feed on fear and manifest to frighten individuals. A more speculative theory suggests that shadow people might be time travelers from the future. In this scenario, their shadowy appearance could be a result of the limitations of their time travel technology, making them visible only as shadows. Skeptics argue that shadow people can be explained by natural phenomena, such as optical illusions, heightened imagination, or environmental factors like electromagnetic fields. They emphasize the lack of empirical evidence and suggest that the human brain's tendency to perceive patterns in random stimuli